Blog Talk Radio.
We'll never see you again.
I dearly hope so, my prince. There is so much more I meant to tell you. Everything you know is about to change.
American Daily Review.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. Not too long ago, two friends of mine were talking to a Cuban refugee, a businessman who had escaped from Castro. And in the midst of his story, one of my friends turned to the other and said, "We don't know how lucky we are." And the Cuban stopped and said, "How lucky you are. I had some place to escape to." And in that sentence, he told us the entire story. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves. Where then is the road to peace? Well, there's a simple answer after all. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance.
When America needed them most, two men rose to the occasion. Doug Gibbs of Constitution Radio and PoliticalPistachio.com. Jasmius of PoliticalPistachio.com, Constitution Radio, and the Hard Starboard Radio Network. This is American Daily Review on blogtalkradio.com. And because Mr. Gibbs promoted it at politicalpistachio.com this morning, ADR twin spin, twin spin.
Defense for Seattle is just big time. They're the best in the game. They're on another level. Let me be the first one to stand up and say, you were right, I'm the idiot.
Thomas ripped it out. Sweeping hammers will not back down. Better back up and get ready to see us coming. We visit your zone. Blue, green, and punk man. We're repping the colors so that it's that battle we own. We're bringing that noise. We're choosing our voice to the best of our knocked up our throne. If you think you're winning and stick to the link, that's funny. You better stay home. Brandon and Hazel, Thomas and Thurman. Let's not forget Optimus Prime. If you line up against number 25, you can believe you're not catching the time. They said we don't play fair. And other friends already starting to whine. Not worried about a thing to the LOP, so there's no killing it vibes. The Legion of Boom. They're handing out boom. They're thinking the hawks are feminine. I wouldn't be so quick to assume. They doubt us. They nothing but ignorant and idiotic buffoons. And if you test them, bam, bam, jam, says to be meeting your doom. Bigger, stronger, louder, better than you bigger. Stronger, louder, better than you bigger. Stronger, louder, better than you bigger. Stronger, louder, better than you. Snap the ball. Oh, look at this run. What a run! Marshawn Lynch! Still on his feet! 10 blockers now! He's dancing his way to the touchdown! Keep it alive. The game's final play is a Wilson lob to the end zone, which is blocked ball by Tate with Jennings. Simultaneous. Who has it? Who to give it to? Welcome to the bird nest. Hunger Games, city of brain, city of hawk. Loud like a thunderclap, booming like a tomahawk. History links a dining hall. Every Sunday's dinner time, we march, John Lynch, our break. Yeah, that's the winners. Beat 'em, I beat 'em, I beat one of them. Don't let them leave out without replay. And they doubted us, counted us out, dog. Got a staff with the need of a hearing aid. Watch them, easy, sweezy, block them. Or cool, pop and lock them. Kill 'em, militia, shock them. Balls winning, curse more awesome. Golden Tate lost them. When the wheels get going, can't stop them. Defenses look like Watson. It's roadkill, we watching. Russell Wilson, awesome. I know it's rude, but in the bird nest, if you ain't one of us, you're bird food. Done. Bigger, stronger, louder, better than you bigger. 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 Stronger, louder, better than you. Santa Ovamano.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You're it? You're Black Plastic.
No, Jasmius.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it. All about control. And if you can take it, all about your step. And if you can play it, it's all about pain. Who's gonna make it? I am the game. You don't wanna play me. I am control. No way you can shake me. I am heavy debt. No way you can pay me. I am the pain, and I know you can't take me. Look over your shoulder, ready to run like a Cleveland fish from a smoking gun. I am the game, and I make the rules to move on out here.
Just attempting to set the mood for later on at CenturyLink Field as the world champions of professional football get set, begin the quest to repeat, which I think they will, but that's later on tonight, 5:15 Pacific time on Fox. The Carolina Panthers go to their doom at CenturyLink Field against the Seattle Seahawks. But that's the second game today. The first game is the Baltimore Ravens playing at the Big Razor against Tom Brady and the New England Patriots in what's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be storming or snowing or anything, but it's supposed to be like in the 20s with who knows what the wind chill will be. So that starts during about halfway through the next 3 hours. And speaking of which, we have a 3-hour Saturday afternoon extravaganza to concern ourselves with currently. Beginning here on American Daily Review at blogtalkradio.com/American Daily Review. A podcast, a 3-hour program on 2 venues, airing Saturdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I'm one of your hosts for this excursion in blogcasting awesomeness. And after you hear it, if you haven't heard it before, you will know why this needs to be a weekly, 3-hour-a-day syndicated program, because they're just the times in which we live are far, far too interesting to have us shoehorned into this little cubby hole on Saturdays. We got to be on 5 days a week, folks. We got to be the new Glenn Beck. That's what we got to be, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, and of course, my name, Jasmius. I got through all that setup and then forgot to say who I was. Jasmius, your ruler, your benevolent despot, and your fount and rabbi of conservatism, constitutionalism, Christianity, and common sense, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific at blogtalkradio.com/HSR Network. I host the Hard Starboard Radio Network podcast, so you might want to drop over there and download the 3/4 of a decade of podcasts. And while you're here at blogtalkradio.com/American Daily Review, download the 5.5 years worth of podcasts. And then later on today in the 3rd hour of the Saturday afternoon extravaganza on AM 1050, KCAA, KCAAradio.com, KCAA FM 106.3, to which you can navigate much more easily by going to douglasvgibbs.com and clicking on the radio link, and that'll take you to the podcast page where there are, guess what, almost 3.5 years of podcasts. For your downloading pleasure, your education, edification, enlightenment, and entertainment in all your life's endeavors. Folks, guest call-in number 646-595-4520. That's 646-595-4520. My email address, jasmius@comcast.net. Chat room is open and filling up at an alarming rate. Speaking of co-hosts and Saturday afternoon extravaganzas and, Constitution Radio, why don't we see if we can get ourselves in contact with this man?
I am Douglas V. Gibbs, and I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men, and free men you are. What will you do with that freedom? Will you fight? Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your bed many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
In every revolution, there's one man with a vision.
Perhaps today is a good day. Douglas V. Gibbs.
He's the one.
away the call-in numbers later on in the third hour of the Saturday afternoon extravaganza. 888-909-1050. The listen-to number, 832-999-1050. The guest, Doc Nye, apparently the owner of the DeLorean that was used in the Back to the Future movies, and Mr. Gibbs can tell us more about him forthwith.
Well, the owner of one of the DeLoreans that was used in the movie. You know, what we saw in the movie was one DeLorean. What the reality was, there was a few of them.
Oh, so it was kind of like the Rudd Weatherwax used to have like 7 or 8 different Lassies for the Lassie TV program.
Yeah, and there was a number of General Lees for Dukes of Hazzard. Of course, there had to be because the way they were jumping.
Yeah, if you ever saw that show, you'd know what we're talking about,
yeah,
folks.
I'm sure they were changing front ends right and left on that thing.
Yeah, you know what? Dukes of Hazzard theme might be somewhat suitable for us, you know. Just two good old boys, never meaning no harm.
Yeah, speaking of never meaning no harm. Yeah, speaking of never meaning no harm, I hear that there's some small team up there in the Northwest that has a game today. What's the name of that stupid little team?
Carolina Panthers. They're coming in here to be massacred.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if you saw. Yeah, I don't know if you saw my football forecast. I don't normally do the football, baseball thing on my website because you know it's a political site, and I leave that to people like you. But you know the matchups this weekend were just so interesting that I just had to say something. And you and I are pretty much on the same page on all of them. The only difference is, although I think that New England's the better team in the first game, I just have this feeling that Flacco and the boys in Baltimore are going to do it. And
oh yeah, I mean,
you even wrote. Well, you wrote in yours. Hey, I don't know if this is a good choice, but I'm going to go for it, picking New England. So.
Well, I pick by the numbers, so I have a whole numerical system. I start the year with it. I have power rankings and so forth, and the numbers indicate that the Patriots should be favored, but the Ravens are one of those intangible teams, and when they scrape into the playoffs, all of a sudden it's like a switch is flipped, and then all of a sudden Joe Flacco becomes Joe Montana, and then they just go on a big run, totally independent of their regular season numbers. So it's the kind of thing that it's great if it's your team, but if it's not, then it kind of drives you crazy because, you know, I mean, you were in the top seed, and that should actually mean something, but so often it doesn't. Yeah, the one area where we're not quite on the same page, I look at the Cowboys and DeMarco Murray and the number 2 rushing attack in the league versus that number 23 ranked Packers run defense, and
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. And and I just don't think that the Cowboys defense is going to be able to contain Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is an interesting animal in the playoffs. But now let me go back to something you said earlier. You have this whole numbers. You spend the whole season deep in statistics and paying attention to this and that. And all of mine is based on my gut feeling, based on the games that I've seen and what I've experienced during the season. So I don't have some complex system. I just go, I like this guy. But it's not because of, the pretty colors. Like some women like to do. I remember we used to have a football poll, and this woman would always choose the Dolphins because they had a pretty uniform.
The powder, that shade of blue on their home uniforms, yeah.
yeah. But anyway.
I don't know if that has a name.
I just, Aaron Rodgers is sort of like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, where it's just real hard to count those guys out. You just don't count them out. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm stunned that the Saints aren't. It's just because, Drew Brees is Drew Brees. But nonetheless, I'm watching all of this, and, despite the numbers for the regular season, you know as well as I do, the postseason is a whole new season, and actually every game is a whole new season because you lose, you're gone, period. And and it just, a different kind of animal emerges out of these teams sometimes in the postseason. You know, if you want to talk about Joe Flacco, or you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, as in the postseason, he's quite the productive guy. You know, I think he's, you know, is definitely a suitable, if not improved replacement for, oh shoot, what was his name? See, Brett Favre. Brett Favre is already becoming forgettable because, you know, Aaron Rodgers is so damn awesome. Of course, that's kind of what happened in Indianapolis too with Luck.
Yeah, but you got to look at the fact that the reason that Brett Favre got such a reputation is because he was really good in cold weather games at Lambeau Field, whereas Aaron Rodgers not so much. He doesn't have that great a playoff record.
This is true. And, you know, and then you go to something like the Indianapolis, you know, Denver game, and that was real hard to choose because, to me, they're real evenly matched. But here's, to me, the difference in the game is going to be this. The fact that during the regular season, Andrew Luck had more of a tendency to turn the ball over, and turnovers kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially
if Andrew Luck doesn't get into turning the ball over, it'll be a very close game, and the Broncos will squeak by. But if Andrew Luck starts turning the ball over, I mean, it's going to get ugly. And I mean ugly. Ugly.
And the Broncos have the third-ranked defense, the number 9-ranked pass defense, and they got Von Miller this year, and they added DeMarco Ware. So I think that Andrew Luck is going to be well acquainted with the turf at Invesco Field at Mile High Stadium.
And I think we're going to see a rematch for the Super Bowl. What do you think?
No, not really. But the conventional wisdom is it's going to be Seahawks-Patriots, and I tend to agree with that.
No, I don't think. I just think that Flacco's going to tear up the Patriots. I just think that for whatever reason,
it's possible.
It's like the Angels. It's like the Angels during the Joe Torre era used to have the Yankees number. It didn't matter how awesome the Yankees were or how bad the Angels were playing. The Angels would always beat the Yankees. The Angels were the only team during the Joe Torre managerial era of with the Yankees. The Angels were the only team with a winning record against the Yankees. For some reason, they had their number. It's just like for some reason, the Raiders have a tendency to, or have the ability to beat the Chargers every once in a while, even when they really suck. And I think that same thing goes between the Ravens and the Patriots of late. Not a decade ago, not even not when Tom Brady was at his height, but out of their last three meetings, Baltimore's won 2 of them.
2 out of 3, yeah. I mean, I fully acknowledge that. I mean, in my post on today's games that will go live in about an hour from now, I fully acknowledge that. I mean, like the Ravens are one of those intangible teams. In fact, this year the Dallas Cowboys seem to be the other one, which is what kind of concerns me because the only
Romo has matured like crazy.
Well, it's amazing how mature a quarterback can get when he gets a stud running back to hand the ball off to. I mean, you know, Romo hasn't had that. And Romo has not had that for years. And then, I mean, he had to do.
In other words, it's amazing how well the passing game does when you have a running game.
Exactly. You know, when you're not one-dimensional, because when you're one-dimensional, when you got a quarterback like Tony Romo who really he's good, but he doesn't have much help around him, and he has to do it all. It's kind of like Andrew Luck. Right. He has to do it all himself, and he's really good. But I mean, football is a team sport. It's not an individual sport.
And when they're under that kind of pressure, they start making decisions they wouldn't normally make, and usually those decisions got turned into bad decisions.
They try.
Which is what's been happening to Luck all year.
Oh yeah, and it's what never happens to Russell Wilson, mainly because he doesn't have to force the ball into triple coverage in order to make a play. He's got Marshawn Lynch. He's got the best defense of this century, perhaps since the '85 Bears, to rely upon. So it's again, it's easy to take care of the ball when you don't when you don't have to do it all yourself.
But the thing is about Russell Wilson is if he didn't have that talent around him, I still think he would fare better than his contemporaries in the same situation. His decision-making abilities on the field are absolutely incredible. He's one of the best. Now that said, that's the reason why I think that and I hate to say this because between you and Mobley, I'm sick of hearing about the Seahawks. But by studying what I studied, watching the season, because remember the Seahawks had a rough start. But it's like I tell people, the end of the season isn't about who played best all season long. It's about who's playing best when it counts. And Seahawks have as the season progressed and going to the playoffs. I think that's going to be a continuing trend. And so I'm going to make my prediction right now that like I said, I'm sick of the Seahawks. I'm not a fan of the Seahawks. Remember, I'm a Raiders fan, so there's deep down I have a certain animosity for the former AFC West team. But that said, I think the Seahawks are going to be the first team in a long time to go back-to-back.
And then that will make next season very interesting for at least two reasons. One, because there has never been a three-peat in the Super Bowl era. And so that'll be a story next year. But number two, with the free agent signings that the Seattle Mariners, I'm talking about up here in the Seattle area, the free agent signings that the Seattle Mariners have made will make it to possibly create a situation where the Mariners are actually genuinely in the AL West pennant race. Which may take some of the headlines away from the Seahawks for a change. So, that could be
let me say something about the Seattle Mariners. That's baseball for those of you who are getting sick of us talking about sports. Let me say something about the Seattle Mariners. Don't hold your breath.
Well, they needed a big. They always have good pitching. They got King Felix. And now they've got they signed, I forget his name, but the big bat away from the Texas Rangers to go with Robinson Cano, and they re-signed
that goes. And a big bat from the Rangers is actually a wonderful move. Just ask us about Josh Hamilton.
Well,
exactly. He hasn't done.
No, I was trying to remember. Oh yeah, okay. I was trying to remember. Same league. Yeah, same league. So.
Josh
Do you see the Mariners?
It's just been a disappointment.
The Mariners. The Mariners have this habit of signing guys that have success at the plate in the National League, and it never translates over to the American League. Like look how long it took for Albert Pujols to be acclimated to the American League. So, but this is from another American League team. So I mean, I'm not making any firm predictions, but
the pitching in the American League is completely different. I mean, it's a harder throwing. Anyway, the whole game's different in the American League. I mean, it's a longer ball type game and so on and so forth. But anyway, that all said, are we done with sports?
I'm game if you are.
Okay, good, because I may have to bail at the top of the hour and let you finish the ADR show with whatever stories are left, because today's guest is coming into the studio, and if he's in the studio, I'm not going to, sit there on the phone.
Let him cool his heels there. Yeah,
exactly. I'd rather look him in the eye while I'm eating Chinese food in front of him, rather than talk on the phone while I'm eating Chinese food in front of him. All right.
Yeah, that's what set me up to do such a great show filling in for you last week, is that the day before I stopped at Panda Express and loaded up on Shanghai beef and Beijing Angus steak and Shanghai beef. So I had about 2 pounds of that. So that was good.
Last night I ate a 2-item combo from my favorite local place called Dragon Express. I got my cashew chicken and my broccoli beef. And and Virginia, is you still gonna get Chinese in the studio tomorrow? So of course I am. That's right.
It's a tradition.
Yeah, that's what I do. I mean, does a scorpion sting? Yeah, I mean.
Make Jasmia's hungry. That's a tradition on this show.
Yeah, that's and my favorite is the black pepper chicken. But I do have a few others that I like to get there once in a while. But anyway, all right. Story number 14. We have 14 of these babies today. It almost starts like the beginning of a joke, doesn't it? Once there was a communist, it said to a communist. Now, what this is all about, if those of you are not sure, is if you remember, Barack Obama decided he's all nice with communist Cuba, and he's like stunned because they've already dissed him. Now, you know the story better than I do. You wrote about it, but folks like you and I go, well, what do you expect? I mean, this really isn't a news story. I reluctantly even put it on because, like, we knew this was. What's the surprise here? But for some reason, the left are always somehow shocked when their own fellow communists, pull this crap on them.
Well, I mean, I put it in the form of a question: is Barack Obama really stumped on why the Castros are already double-crossing him? I even found a picture of Barack Obama bowing to Raul Castro, which I love. It's amazing the photographs you can find online. And I found this one. I thought, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. I wondered if Barack Obama's first thought was, "Oh man, they double-crossed me," before I could double-cross them.
Yeah, well, he would never double-cross them, though. I mean, he's kind of like that. You know that Looney Tunes cartoon where you have the big dog and the little dog, and the little dog's always just bouncing around the big dog. And, what are you going to do, Chester? What are you going to do? Want to go beat up a cat? That's like Barack Obama and any tin pot despot dictator around, especially a communist dictator.
He just tries to make us think he's the big dog, but he's really the squeaky little.
Yeah, the gender ambiguous leader of Obamamerikistan. Basically, what the story here is that, ladies and gentlemen, is that a few weeks back when Barack Obama announced his opening to Cuba, part of the deal was that we would release 3 Cuban spies that we had in our possession, and they would release something like 53, I think, political prisoners that they were holding. Well, we promptly released those 3 Cuban spies and repatriated them to Cuba, and the Castros haven't quite released their 53 political prisoners yet. And it created a funny scene because the State Department spokesperson, most often is named Jen Psaki, P-S-A-K-I. Jen Psaki. Now, let's just say that Jen Psaki could have been a Clinton intern back in the day. Let's just leave it at that. She's ample. And it makes her look like, and especially when she says things like she did at the State Department press briefing this week, it makes her look like her brains are in her bodice. I mean, it was so bad. I mean, they were just asking routine questions about why haven't the Cuban political prisoners been released yet, and when are they going to be released? And she kept punting. She just said, "Well, I don't have an update for you on that." And finally, one of the reporters, what the news story describes as a befuddled Matt Lee, asked her, "Hold on a second. What's happening? Are they out? Are they not out? Where are they?" And Jen Psaki responded, "I don't have any more updates to provide you, Matt," which is funny because she hadn't provided an update at all. And then Lee actually said, "This is a media reporter, folks. Understand this. This guy says, so the Cubans don't actually have to do anything?" And Jen Psaki responded, "No, Matt, this is something they've agreed to. I would point you to them for any updates on the number of people or the people who have been released." So in other words, Jen Psaki was tacitly admitting that Fidel and Raul Castro are more reliable and trustworthy news sources than Barack Obama. I mean, I think she dropped a cup size in the space of 10 seconds. I don't know, but I don't know what you think.
I'm wondering if she was having trouble thinking because she's distracted, trying to wonder why she was never invited to any of the orgies that we're going to talk about in story number 6. So,
how do you know she wasn't?
Yeah, this is true.
I'm not making any accusations. I mean, I hope she wasn't, but I mean, if she was, it really surprised.
Only Bill Clinton knows. Okay. I can't wait to get to story number 6 because I have a joke.
Actually, why would Bill Clinton remember?
Yeah,
I mean, his little black book was the size of the Manhattan telephone directory. So.
All right. I tell you what. Here's your teaser, everybody, for story number 6. Here's your teaser for story number 6. Hey, Jasmine, you know what Bill Clinton says to Hillary Clinton after sex?
Oh, I remember this one, but not quite.
Yeah, I'll be home in about half an hour.
Yeah. That story brings back all kinds of headlines from the past, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. All right, story number 13. A few earthquakes in diverse places. Those of you who are real astute know what I mean when I say diverse places. Wow, Texas and Oklahoma. And didn't we have, like, a few years ago, a rattler in Washington, D.C. that, like, kind of made the Washington Monument kind of a little, what was that, 2011 when that one happened?
Don't remember right off the top of my head.
Yeah. But anyway,
well, if
got 9 earthquakes in one day, 3 of them above 3.0. Now here in California, we're like wimps, but out there, it's sort of like us getting snow in Marietta. We're like freaking out. They never get really earthquakes. Suddenly they get 9 in one day. And then
in California,
in Oklahoma, they've gotten more earthquakes during 2014 they have in the last 30 years.
Well, in California, you would say, was there a small breeze here or something? But yeah.
I sleep through earthquakes.
I mean, because actually the speculation, as far as the Oklahoma earthquakes, with 567 earthquakes with magnitudes of 3.0 or greater, were registered last year in Oklahoma, making it the most seismically active state in the nation, excluding Alaska and Hawaii, so of the 48 contiguous states. And the speculation, and this ties in with one of the other stories, at least tangentially. In fact, the Tulsa World reported that the rise in quakes has raised suspicion of whether hydraulic fracturing, an oil and gas drilling method known as fracking, is responsible for the uptick. So they say, well, we gotta cut that out because it's causing earthquakes. That works.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, no.
In fact, and there's another link to this story about how the New Madrid seismic zone is starting to become a little bit more energetic, and
during the 1800s, the most massive earthquake in North American history that we know of hit, right?
Well, they don't know for sure because that was about 150 years before the Richter scale existed. But they estimate that there were 3 quakes from 1812 to 1814 in or around New Madrid, Missouri, that were magnitude 8.0 or above. And just for the geologically uneducated, the New Madrid seismic zone reflects the fact that, like most of the time, seismic zones are along the boundaries of tectonic plates. Right. The pieces of the crust that float on the molten mantle below our feet.
Right.
And in the case of the New Madrid seismic zone, that's geologists believe a case of a continental plate being pulled apart, because where the Mississippi River is, it's seismically or geologically speaking, it's kind of like a zipper that's pulling North American, at least part of the North American plate apart. So they think that's where the New Madrid seismic zone came from. And historically it tends to go off in about 2 or so century increments. So, in other words, they think that
It's time.
the fact that they've estimated, geologists have estimated that the chances in the next 30 years of a major earthquake in the New Madrid seismic zone are like 95%. Now, they may not be right about that, but it's
what you're saying
a
is folks ought to
possibility.
be moving to California. So what you're saying is folks in that area should be moving to California to get away from the earthquake danger.
Yeah, well, in California, earthquakes are figured into building ordinances and things like that, whereas in the Midwest, which nobody associates with earthquakes, I mean, you have a lot more brick structures. The buildings don't necessarily. I mean, a few of them here and there do, like the FedEx's headquarters in Memphis is built. I think it's on shock. One of the same kind of shock stabilizer contraption that some major office buildings in California employ, but a lot of there's going to be a lot of damage a lot more damage from an 8.0 earthquake, say, in the Midwest than there would be in California. And it could.
I want to get on the next story and for a reason. Two things. Number one, the next story, Wrong Tribe, really is in your wheelhouse and what you talked about, and I think you nailed it on a few things. One of those links, you begin your introduction to the article. The very first paragraph is absolutely incredibly awesome, and I want you to find it and read it. Primitive tribalism epitomizes the left is the first sentence of that particular post.
Oh, and, yeah.
I actually printed that paragraph so I could read it on the air on KTAA later because it's an absolutely incredible intro. But the reason why I'm also ushering into it real quick is because I got a phone call a moment ago, and I think it's today's guest, and I want to call him back. He's probably circling the Carousel Mall like a vulture trying to figure out where to go, and I'm almost there, so I need to call him and help him out in his endeavor. And I'll come back for a little bit, but you'll probably have to carry the rest of yourself because, like I said, our guest is an in-studio guest, and it's just right for me to, cut me on the phone.
Absolutely.
So I will be right back, but go ahead. Wrong Tribe is the next story.
Wrong Tribe. Now, there's several links here with this one, but this kind of sets the table for it. Here is in fact, the first two paragraphs of what I wrote in this particular post. It's entitled at politicalpistachio.com. It's entitled "The Othering of Christians and Conservatives." Now, primitive tribalism epitomizes the left. Right tribe, wrong tribe is my verbal shorthand for long-time listeners know this. For how liberals endlessly attribute the worst, wickedest, most evil motivations to Christians and conservatives and Republicans for everything. How the left psychologically projects their own hatreds and bigotries and vices upon us, not as an act of moral purging or absolution or even scapegoatery, but as an expression of the inherent moral superiority they have claimed for themselves. It's a function of the reality that left-wing ideology doesn't work in real-world practice, and consequently a reflection of how Marxism has come to be a de facto religion for its stubbornly barren, woebegone adherents. It's a blind, godless creed that can only fortify itself by shunning and demonizing all those who reject its practical and, yes, moral bankruptcy. Now, we see endless examples of it in the panoply of Republican office holders who have been scandal-mongered and Alinskyized for the same exaggerated or imagined offenses that their Democrat counterparts indulge in on an ongoing basis without so much as a peep of media outrage. Richard Nixon committed one scandal, Watergate. I know, the Daniel Ellsberg break-in, and so but basically it was all seen as being part of one cohesive whole. Watergate, or under that umbrella. And the left used Watergate to bring Nixon down and further stigmatize the GOP for years and even decades afterwards. Every Republican president since has had some contrived scandal asterisked to his name. Ford for pardoning Nixon, Reagan and Bush 41 for Iran-Contra, Bush 43 for any number of attempts ranging from the 9/11 Commission to Abu Ghraib to no WMDs in Iraq to the firing of 7 U.S. attorneys. That was in 2006 when Alberto Gonzales was Attorney General, to the 2008 financial panic. It's never mattered that there was little or nothing to any of these purported episodes of wrongdoing. It's always been about perpetuating the stereotyped stigma of right-wing extremism, right-wing greed, right-wing warmongering, right-wing culture of corruption, etc., etc., etc. It's the moral equivalent of a caste system in which the left sits atop the societal pyramid and the right is the enslaved Derridus scattered forlornly at or around the bottom. Now, there were 2 examples of this in this particular post. One was Curt Schilling. Now, if you recall, Curt Schilling was a star pitcher for both he was actually the Philadelphia Phillies, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Boston Red Sox. And you would think that Curt Schilling would have no difficulty being elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame, would you? I mean, John Smoltz got in, Greg Maddux got in, Tom Glavine got in without too much difficulty. In fact, but not Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling to this day has never even come remotely close to getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And now Schilling was on a radio program on WEEI. Not sure what city that's in. I didn't bother to look that up. It wasn't really the point of the post. On the Dennis and Callahan show. And one of the things he said was that, now he didn't outright say that he'd been blackballed, because that's the other thing about Curt Schilling. He was and is a huge supporter and a publicly disclosed supporter of President George W. Bush. So now Schilling didn't come out and say, I'm being blackballed for my political views, but he talked about it in the sense of, well, I don't know if they're blackballing me, but it seems kind of odd that so many of the elite contemporaries have gotten into the Hall of Fame by now, and I'm still not even close. I mean, he got 39. So you need 75% of the sports writer vote in order to make it into Cooperstown, and Schilling got 39% this year, and that's the most he's ever gotten. So it just seems odd to me that now that well, it's more than a little suspicious, shall we say? But again, that's another of those things that, absent some sports writers' indiscretion, it'll never be proven. And of course, the Washington Post, who reported on this story, was hugely skeptical. Politics doesn't have anything to do with it. Schilling just doesn't deserve to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, which, you can have your opinion one way or the other about that. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be. I mean, that his Game 6 start in the 2004 World Series for the Red Sox against the New York Yankees, that was the year that the Yankees went up, or that was in the ALCS, excuse me. That was the year that the Yankees went up 3-0 in the American League Championship Series, and then the Red Sox came all 4 in a row, and then went on to the World Series and just destroyed, I think, the St. Louis Cardinals. It was the Red Sox first. It broke the Babe Ruth curse. It was the Red Sox first World Series title since 1918. First in 86 years. So I mean, and Kurt Schilling's start in Game 6 of that series, ALCS against the Yankees, was epic. Remember, he had an ankle injury. He came out there and threw like 7 innings of just lights out, shut down ball, and was the reason why the Red Sox even got to the World Series to sweep the St. Louis Cardinals. So does Kurt Schilling deserve to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame? Damn right he does, in my opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. And just as you're entitled to your opinion about whether the fact that he hasn't been is because of his political affiliation. I think it's pretty clear, but it's one of those things that'll never be proven. You know, it'll always be a matter of speculation. I mean, one of these things that everybody knows what's really the case, but you know, maybe not. But you can never prove it. And then there's, by contrast, there's now former Atlanta Fire Department Chief Kelvin Cochran. Now, if you remember Kelvin Cochran, back in November, he was suspended from his job as Chief of Fire Department of Atlanta, Georgia, for writing a book entitled "Who Told You You Were Naked," which was a tome about legitimate and illegitimate sexuality from a biblical perspective. Now, he was never accused of abusing his vocational authority to discriminate against anybody on any basis. He was never accused of that. His one and only offense was writing this book. Because, by the way, he's a Baptist deacon, so he's a Bible-believing Christian. But he didn't carry that over to his job performance. Nobody ever even accused him of it. But he wrote this book. So he's a conservative Christian, and by the way, did I mention Kelvin Cochran is African American? If Kelvin Cochran weren't African American, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. And now he's been fired. He's been fired for his faith, and that's just reflects this right tribe, wrong tribe ethos. Didn't get as far as I wanted to get, but.
Yeah, and what you were talking about with Kurt Schilling, that was the bloody sock game.
Yep. Unforgettable. One of the guttiest performances I've ever seen in sports, certainly in baseball. I mean, there aren't many opportunities for gutty performances in baseball, folks.
Well, but
this was one of them.
Yeah, it was about as gutsy as they get. And Dark Knight says, "Hey, I'm at a mall. It looks like it's abandoned. And am I in the right place?" Says, "Oh yeah, you're definitely in the right place." Anyway, he's in his team time car Hummer, following me to the entrance. So I'm gonna let you go. I just wanted to let you know. I thought that was kind of funny, because we've talked about the Carousel Mall before. And so
that's pretty good. I'm near this abandoned mall. I mean, zombies could start showing up any second. Yep, you're in the right place.
Yeah, I told him about the zombie story. As a matter of fact, he got a kick out of it. But anyway, let me get off because he and I are getting ready to park and go get some Chinese food together. We're going to have some Chinese food and talk about the show. And we'll talk to you at 2 o'clock.
All righty. Douglas V. Gibbs departs because the guests always come first. And we'll be back right after this quick show promo.
You're listening to the Douglas V. Gibbs Show on KCAA 1050 AM, your weekend dose of truth.
Top of the 2 o'clock hour, the third hour of the Saturday afternoon extravaganza, Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs, the flagship program of the Saturday afternoon extravaganza. Now, it is almost halfway through the show, and I'm still on story number 12, so I'm going to have to book here. In fact, that's the only reason why I don't regret not knowing that Doug was only going to be on for half the show, Actually, less than half, because if I had known, then I would have wanted to get Jennifer on the show in the second hour, and I'm only on story 12, and it's 56 minutes into a 120-minute podcast segment, so I got to make like a tree and make like a tree and book. Make like a library and leave, yeah, something like that. It's make like a tree and leave. You sound like a damn fool when you say it wrong. That was from Back to the Future Part 2, in case you don't remember that particular scene where old Biff Tannen and young Biff Tannen were talking to them. He was basically talking to himself, his quantum double, as it were. But there's more right tribe, wrong tribe stories. There's several here. Like a middle school student in Missouri named Loyal Grandstaff. Now, this is interesting because Loyal Grandstaff is a sixth grader. And Loyal Grandstaff is the son of Christian parents, and he's being raised up in the way he should go. And it just so happens that Loyal Grandstaff, in his free reading period at school, likes to read his Bible. You know, he brings his Bible to school and he reads it. Now, he doesn't thump it. He doesn't chase classmates around and beat them over the head with it. He doesn't proselytize. He doesn't do it. He just likes reading his Bible in free reading period because the Bible is his favorite book. Well, guess what his teacher told him? His teacher told him, "You can't read your Bible in school." And that, of course, now this is another one of those stories. It seems it happen every week or every other week where a school does something. A teacher, not even necessarily a whole school, just a teacher does something like this, where they forbid a student from reading their Bible in free reading period, or a teacher instructs their class to draw pictures of Jesus Christ and then throw them on the floor and stomp on them. I remember that one a while back. Or there was the other story where a school child, the class was doing a "Who is my hero and why" assignment, and one of the students selected Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus Christ is my hero. Well, you can't use him. You can't use that. You got to pick someone else. Well, why? But Jesus Christ is my hero. You can't use Jesus Christ in the classroom. And these stories always end up the same way. They always create they become national stories. They create embarrassment for the school, and the school has to walk it back. It inevitably happens. They walk it back. It's always some overzealous teacher who's been inculcated, indoctrinated in Christ hatred by the teachers' unions. And I suspect this is going to be the same thing. Not too long from now, you're going to hear that Loyal Grandstaff can read his Bible during free reading period again. You know, he's not offending anybody. He's not really. He's not creating a disruption. He's not forcing it on anybody. He's not being obnoxious. He's not misbehaving. He'll probably get to read his Bible in free period again. The question that came immediately to my mind was, do you think that if little Ali Loyal Abdullah Grandstaffi had brought his prayer rug to school and unrolled it towards Mecca during recess and bowed down on it, that this teacher would have confiscated his prayer rug and sent him to time out? Me either. And then, of course, there is... Now, this is kind of a different angle on the right tribe, wrong tribe meme. Did you see the picture of Malia Obama, the oldest Obama daughter, this week? And in fact, she tweeted it. Or did she? No, I take it back. See, in the picture, if you haven't seen it, Malia Obama is wearing a Pro-Era T-shirt. Now, Pro-Era is an anti-cop, black insurrectionist gangsta rap group, all right? And actually, it was the group that tweeted this picture of Malia Obama. Now, if you haven't seen this picture, Malia Obama is 16 years old. So she's first of all, she's underage, all right? Now, in this picture, she's wearing this pro-ERA T-shirt, and she is adopting a very provocative pose. In fact, I likened it at politicalpistachio.com this week to a shot from, or it's the type of pose that you typically see in a Girls Gone Wild video about 5 seconds before the gal pulls her shirt up to flash her, boobies. And that's what this looks like to me. Yeah, and I really hope that Malia Obama didn't subsequently flash her chest at anybody. But it just, to me, it illustrates. I mean, remember when the Bush twins, George W. Bush's daughters, just had some fermented beverages, and remember the media furor that created? Well, here is Malia Obama, the first daughter, letting herself be photographed in she's 16. She's underage. She's letting herself be photographed in a gangsta rap group T-shirt, striking a provocative pose, and now the group is circulating this picture around. Now, this is a group, of course, that uses their lyrics are N-word this and N-word that and F-bombs and B-words and C-words and violence and gunplay and cop-killing celebration and so on and so forth. Now, you might think, well, the apple don't fall far from the tree. Well, no, actually, because you see, knowledge isn't genetic, and neither is worldview. Malia Obama is not turning into a gangsta groupie just because she is the daughter of Barack Hussein Obama. She's turning into a groupie because that's how her parents are raising her. It's like one writer, I believe it was at LibertyNews.com this week, said, tomorrow she'll be attending socialist meetings at Columbia College, and before you know it, she'll be dining with Al Sharpton. And frankly, I characterize this as child abuse, quite honestly. And then, of course, the last Right Tribe, Wrong Tribe part of link in story number 12, and just make brief mention of this. Did you know that FBI Director James Comey went to the funeral of Wen Jian Liu, one of the New York City police officers that was gunned down in cold blood, execution style, by the Muslim-influenced black jihadist Ismail Abdullah Brinsley? Yeah, FBI Director James Comey was there. In fact, that amazes me that the Obama regime would let any representative go to a cop's funeral, much less the FBI director. I wouldn't be surprised if James Comey announces an intention suddenly to spend more time with his family in the near future. But it's interesting because you look at some of his comments, and he pointed out, something that is not at all surprising to anybody who's really been paying attention to this stuff, that the number of cop killings last year skyrocketed. 115 police officers, I'm assuming this is nationwide, 115 cops were killed in the line of duty last year. That is a huge, shocking increase from 2013. Now, understand, this number, the number of police officers killed in the line of duty, had been declining for decades until last year. And then all of a sudden, for some strange reason, it shot through the roof. And it surprises me that Director Comey was at Wen Jian Liu's funeral. It surprises me that he mentioned this statistic about cop killings increasing dramatically last year. But he mentioned, I don't understand evil and I cannot try, which is a huge oopsie. It's a huge faux pas. Remember, he's a representative of the Obama regime, the Obama administration, and sounds to me like Director Comey went off regime script with that comment. Brinsley atrocity is actually a righteous act of social justice, not evil. Because, of course, only Black Lives Matter, apparently. And don't be surprised if James Comey, as I say, abruptly expresses a desire to spend more time with his family in the near future, or until they're all gunned down by new Black Panther Party troops, anyway. And now we finally get on to, and these will go a little quicker, I think, because there's not as much to be said about them. Story number 11. Criminal charges recommended against General David Petraeus, which I posted about this just this morning at politicalpistachio.com. It came across the wires either late last night or early this morning. And now you might be wondering, why is the Holder Justice Department only preparing to file cases against former general and former CIA director David Petraeus now? Because remember where this started. Remember David Petraeus, when he was being interviewed for his autobiography, decided to get jiggy with his ghostwriter. Remember that a woman by the name of Paula Broadwell, which to me sounds like a porn star's name. Broadwell. Why not Poundwell? And actually, there is a Paula Poundwell somewhere. So, but it's one of those things where I've never been in that position. Apparently, power is an aphrodisiac for a lot of women. And so some women throw themselves at guys that if they weren't in powerful or influential positions, they wouldn't look twice at. But General Petraeus was in a powerful position, a director of the CIA, and so he dipped the wick where it shouldn't have been dipped, and of course, because he's perceived as being a center-right figure, sex does matter, or did matter in her case. Remember when the left during the Clinton years said, sex doesn't matter. What a high-ranking public official does in his private life has nothing to do with his job performance. But that's only if you're a Democrat. Which gets back to the right tribe, wrong tribe meme. And so you might be wondering why. Now that, if you recall, that got leaked after the 2012 election. So that, and I interpreted that as Barack Obama didn't have any more need for David Petraeus in a high-ranking national security position because, well, he'd been safely reelected. So what did he need Petraeus for, to give him credibility on anything? I mean, it's kind of the same reason why he brought in Chuck Hagel to be Secretary of Defense. He didn't need anybody with credibility to be Secretary of Defense, so we got Chuck Hagel. But now, 2 years later, only now they're going to file the department, the Commissariat of Injustice, Revenge and Cover-Up is going to file criminal charges against David Petraeus for possibly leaking classified information. It's kind of odd until you think about it. And it seems to me that what's going on here is that, let me see if I can find it here. Oh, yeah, here it is. This leaves a question. Everybody already knows about this peccadillo on the general's personal resume. He'll never hold any high-ranking public or military role ever again. He's not a politician. Or, in short, he's no threat in any way, shape, or form to Barack Obama or the Democrat Party. So why 2 years later go after him with criminal charges over a matter which is in almost any other context the regime wouldn't give two leaves off the proverbial fig tree? The only reason, folks, that I can conclude is that Barack Obama's Iraq policy has become a total disaster, so public, despite the media's best efforts to embargo it, that even low-information voters beheadedly understand it, even if they still don't have the stomach to support doing anything about it. And more to the point, the Obama White House is being inexorably dragged right back down the same road as its hated Bushian predecessor. And guess who would be an awfully inconvenient public commentator on the Mesopotamian situation, with oodles and oodles of gravitas to do so, and maybe whose name might even be bandied about to play an important role in trying to salvage President Ended the Wars betrayal of the Iraqi government and people. And now that Democrat control of any part of Congress has completely vanished, and Barack Obama will never face a voter again other than to make him or her shine his putter for him, he no longer has to care about the awkward public relations of a White House vengefully and aggressively trying to make a de facto political prisoner out of a still respected and victorious general, even if he couldn't keep it in his pants. So, you know, that seems pretty obvious to me. They're just tying up loose ends. So story number 10, baby, it's cold outside. Several stories here. Like, for example, did you know that polar ice is growing and thickening? This has been a recurring theme of ours as the, well, if not full-fledged ice age, then the colder period of reduced solar activity it takes hold. And just looking at the headlines here, polar ice growing and thickening. Record snowfall hits Florida. Fears of man-made global warming exaggerated. U.S. Weather, or a large part of U.S. in deep freeze. Sub-zero winds grip central and eastern U.S. Schools close. Now, there are several. I rarely, when there's a story that has a ton of links, I rarely bring up all of them. I bring up the ones that interest me. The polar ice thickening and growing certainly interested me. Europe's Cryosat-2 satellite found that sea ice volumes for the fall of 2014 were above the average extent for the past 5 years. Sea ice levels were up sharply from 2011 and 2012, according to the satellite, only slightly lower than last year. They found that Arctic sea ice levels increased 50% at the end of the region's melting season last year. Arctic sea ice coverage reached 2,100 cubic miles by that time, up from 1,400 during the same time in 2012. We talked about that many times here on these same Hard Starboard Radio Network stations. And the Antarctic is actually growing, and all the evidence in the last few months suggests many assumptions about the poles were wrong. According to Dr. Benny Peiser, director of the Global Warming Policy Forum, told the UK Express. Now, if he's a real scientist, he will update their theories and throw out the anthropogenic global warming theory because it's not being borne out by the evidence. As anybody who understands the first thing about nature understands and will realize and will admit if they're honest and a genuine scientist, you can see a cycle. Cycles are at everything, folks. From the cosmic scale down to the microscopic, it's all about cycles. Regular cycles. That's the way life works. That's the way human interactions work. It's the way nature works. And how arrogant of mankind to think that we could do anything to much influence the climate, short of an all-out nuclear holocaust, which we'll get around to eventually, I have no doubt. Here's another story about under the rubric of story number 10. Snow in Florida. Yeah, snow. This is from news4jax.com, so Jacksonville, Florida. Snow danced over the streets of Jacksonville Thursday for the first time in 5 years and tied the record for the day of a trace set 57 years ago. Granted, it's not a Buffalo-type record where the only way of escape out of your house after a snow event is out the second-story window, but this is Florida, and any flurry, whether one or a dozen, is a big deal. Now, this comes, of course, in the wake of the 10 inches of snow that fell in parts of Murrieta, California last week. It's just kind of a fascinating meteorological observation. The things are happening that haven't happened in a long time, don't happen often, and they don't have anything to do with the warming of anything. And as a matter of fact, would you believe that the average mean ambient temperature on Mars this week was higher than temperatures in most parts of the United States? This is from the London Daily Mail. Time to move to Mars. Temperatures on the red planet were warmer on Thursday than 14 states from Washington to Maine. The daily high on Mars was 17.6 Fahrenheit, while most of the northern United States plunged into single digits. This was a function of Winter Storm Gorgon that plunged across the lower 48 earlier this week. Now, it's finally starting to run out of steam. Weather was looking to be a factor in the weekend's NFL divisional playoff contests because they're all in cold weather cities, but it's not supposed to be snowing in Green Bay or in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Where's the other one? Let's see, Green Bay or in Denver or in Seattle. But it's going to be cold in Green Bay and in Massachusetts, or I guess Foxborough's in Massachusetts. Yeah, it's going to be about 20 degrees with variable winds. I recall in the wild card round last year when the Green Bay Packers hosted the San Francisco 49ers, it got down to 4 degrees. Wind wasn't blowing much, so in this case, today the wind might be blowing in Green Bay tomorrow morning, or rather, I guess it'll be morning Central Time for the Packers game against the Dallas Cowboys. So, but yeah, many parts of the United States were colder than Mars this week. So, but yeah, we're just burning up. Story number 9, gun control. Well, actually, it's not so much a gun control push by Democrats driving gun sales up. It's the race war, Barack Obama's race war. This is I tell you, you see things like this and you just chuckle, mainly because we're still allowed to buy guns. In fact, it evoked in me the scene from the first Matrix movie where Neo resolves to go back into the Matrix and rescue Morpheus, and he asks Tank, that's right. It was Tank and Dozer, yeah. He asked Tank to give him guns, lots of guns. Well, apparently the American people were thinking along those same lines in December. FBI background checks, the most reliable measure of gun sales, surged in December, capping a year that experienced strong growth in the last 3 months. Now, let me see. What happened in the last quarter of 2014 that could possibly have encouraged Americans to go out and arm or further arm themselves? And we're talking. I mean, here's the rate at which it escalated. Background checks totaled more than 1.5 million in August, a considerable increase from about 1.4 million in July. There was another pick up in October to 1.6 million, and in November to 1.8 million, and in December it was 2.3 million. So you're talking approximately from July to December, you're talking a 65% month-on-month increase in gun sale or in gun purchases in the United States. And in fact, the Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, alone there were 175,000 background checks on that day all by itself. So nationwide gun sales increased over 50% December, 65% actually, December over July. And on the day after Thanksgiving, at an equivalent monthly rate of 3.5 times the August baseline. Well, I guess that's to be expected when people watch radicals and hooligans burn down one town after another and threaten to burn down the entire country, holding all of us effective hostages to their extortionistic and racist demands. And, of course, presiding over it all, the insurrectionist-in-chief himself. Now, I know that you would think that would run counter to the Obama White House's gun control fetish, but think about it for a minute, folks. In Barack Obama's mind, the better armed whites are, the greater the chance of more Trayvon Martins, Michael Browns, and Eric Garners. Only not limited to just the police paradigm, but to all of white America. Barack Obama doesn't just want the symbolism of turning blacks against whites. He literally wants every last African American turned against every last white American in an interracial bloodbath that only he can prevent through the imposition of martial law and assumption of emergency powers that he, of course, will never relinquish. Still think he's incompetent, ladies and gentlemen? Story number 8, Barbara Boxer announces retirement. Did you see this on Thursday? Barbara Boxer just decided that she is going to, she's never going to completely retire, but she's not going to run for a 5th term in the United States Senate from California. I don't know. Maybe she wanted to be senior senator from California, but Dianne Feinstein's even more stubborn than she is. Dianne Feinstein's almost a decade older than Boxer, and Boxer's 74 years old now. So she was elected in the Year of the Woman, 1992, if you recall that debacle. Anyway, Boxer is going to bow out. She's announced it now. Tells me that she doesn't anticipate her party, the Democrat Party, getting back into the majority in the Senate anytime soon, because if that was the case, why would she voluntarily give up a gavel? I mean, she's been, what was she chairman of? I can't remember what committee she was chairman of, but she's not going to get a United States senator, all 100 of whom are convinced that they are presidential timber, is never going to voluntarily relinquish a gavel with the possibility of getting it back. Well, I shouldn't say never. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's still House Minority Leader. She hasn't gone away, even though the chances of her being Speaker again are, well, they're as infinitesimal as Senator Boxer perceives her chances of getting back a committee chairmanship again. So Barbara Boxer waving bye-bye, and speculation turned immediately to her possible replacements. Interestingly enough, none of them are a Republican. Gee, what a surprise, huh? I mean, which, you can't really blame political analysts for drawing that conclusion. I mean, what are California Republicans going to do? Call up Barney Ross and ask if he can spare Trench Mauser for 6 years? Which, if you had to have seen The Expendables to get that joke. Trench Mauser was a cameo that Arnold Schwarzenegger did in the first Expendables movie, along with Bruce Willis. It's a funny line when you have the context for it. Trust me, folks. So I mean, they don't have a bench. The California GOP, that is. They don't have a bench. I mean, they don't have anybody who has held statewide office. I mean, when was the last time a Republican held any statewide office in California? Does anybody remember? 'Cause I have no idea. I don't know if I'd have any idea even if I lived in California and it was more of my business to know. And I couldn't really tell you. I mean, when you talk about statewide California officials, the name I have to go all the way back to is Dan Lundgren, back when he was, I think, Attorney General of California in the early 90s, and he's in Congress now. So is Tom McClintock, who I can't remember if he was ever a lieutenant. No, he never was. He ran for lieutenant governor, and then he ran for governor and lost both races. He was a state senator, and then he got elected to the House. So that was his way out. But there's no Republican that is going to replace Barbara Boxer. I mean, I suggested at politicalpistachio.com that California Republicans put up Ken Calvert, Doug's U.S. representative. I mean, Calvert doesn't have much to do besides grow ever more fiscally corn-fed, after all. And if you look at a picture of him, oh my God! I mean, it's obvious that taking up an inordinate amount of space is one of the things Calvert does best. Hey! He's probably skinny when he first went to the House in 1993. That and Calvert's face appearing to be too low on the front of his skull. Either that or it implodes whenever he smiles. I mean, if the California GOP really wanted to have a face, might as well give it one that has or will provide some comic relief, I always say. Now, the serious candidates to replace Barbara Boxer, Senator Don't Call Me Ma'am, are Eric Holder clone and State Attorney General Kamala Harris, which was I thought that she was going to be Eric Holder's replacement, since that's apparently going to Loretta Lynch in order to pay off Al Sharpton. I guess Kamala Harris is free to seek a Barbara Boxer Senate seat. The other two candidates who are apparently have the inside track, the top tier, if you will, are homophilic Lieutenant Governor and ex-San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom and La Raza-oid former Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa. Yeah, I'll get it. I'll spit that out sooner or later. Or as people in SoCal know him and loathe him, Mayor Antonio Viva la Raza! Anyway, there are some estimates that the race to succeed Barbara Boxer may exceed, in terms of funds expended on advertising and so forth, may exceed $1 billion. It's expensive to run for a statewide office in California, apparently. My money's on Villaraigosa, just for the record. I mean, because he'd be the first Hispanic senator, since, of course, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are Republicans, so they're not authentic Hispanics. So they don't count. But seriously, Villaraigosa, it would be my pick to be the next United States Senator from California. If he can scrape together $1 billion. But then they all three, especially Villaraigosa and Newsom, can pull together the necessary coin in all likelihood. That brings us, or segues us, to story number 7. Illegal alien driver's license law takes effect in California. And in fact, I'm surprised it took this long, actually. I remember a motor voter passing in California 20 years ago. But it's really been this long since illegal aliens got driver's licenses in California? Well, apparently so. Let me just get the lead here. In an attempt to desensitize America's opinion regarding illegal immigration, and in a move that adds ammunition to the argument that illegals live among us and work beside us, California has become the latest of a number of states that have made effective laws granting driver's licenses to people that reside in California but enter the United States without going through the legal processes. Other states that grant driver's licenses to illegal aliens include Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Maryland, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, Vermont, Washington, and the District of Columbia. Now, another way to look at that is purple, blue, 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 purple, blue, red, blue, blue, blue. With the exception of Utah, those are all Democrat-controlled or heavily influenced states. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, California, enough said. Oregon had such a law in place, but astoundingly, the voters there repealed it in the 2014 midterm election. Now that California has joined the list of states allowing driver's licenses for illegals, effective January 1st, 2015, for a law originally passed in 2013, the lines for a license throughout California at Department of Motor Vehicles offices have been longer than usual, often creating a wait time of hours. The delay for the implementation of the law from 2013 to January 2015 was to allow the DMV to prepare for the change in policy. And they apparently did that with all their usual effectiveness and efficiency and professionalism. You know, also in California, now California taxpayers are paying for illegal aliens' car insurance, if you weren't aware of this one. I mean, first they were given sanctuary, then they were given driver's licenses and voter registration cards, and now they're being given free car insurance. Can free new cars be far behind? And remember, my California friends, you're picking up the tab for every last red cent of it. Government is making sure that illegal aliens, criminals that break our laws every day, have low-cost auto insurance issued by the state. In other words, you poor suckers in California. This is subsidized by their taxes, your taxes, those of you listening from the formerly great state of California, the Acapulco Gold State. Money meant for education will instead be used to assure lawbreakers get a break on insurance when they get their phony driver's licenses, which will be used, you know they will, to allow the illegal aliens to vote illegally. This is why you should never vote for any tax increases or bond measures, which I don't, by the way. I've always instinctively known that. If Sacramento has enough money to subsidize auto insurance for illegal aliens, it has enough money for roads and education. They are not immigrants. They are illegal aliens. Immigrants come here legally with permission. But then California doesn't have enough money for anything in reality. Sacramento Democrats don't prioritize spending, and no Democrat does. They spend as much as they want on whatever they want, regardless of where the revenue is and is supposed to come from. It's one of the perks of being the ruling party in a one-party Marxist state. That makes me wonder how long it'll be before California American citizens are declared illegal and the illegals are declared California citizens. Story number 6, Bill Clinton and the pedophile. Now, the pedophile in this case is Jeffrey Epstein. And parenthetically, all those who were surprised that Bill Clinton was a close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile and sexual deviant, stand on your head. Between 2000 and 2005, Bill Clinton he hung around with Jeffrey Epstein quite a bit, actually. He was a frequent visitor to his vacation getaway. I guess he owned an island or something, where he held frequent and regular sexual orgies, including sex slavery with underage girls, which is what's got Jeffrey Epstein in trouble. In fact, he served time in 2008 for his illegal sexual partners, including multiple trips to the one-time billionaire's private island in the Caribbean where underage girls were allegedly kept as sex slaves. And he's now been sued, that's Epstein, by the way, by one of his former sex slaves, and the name Bill Clinton came up in the discovery phase of this civil trial. And Hillary was not pleased. I mean, as a matter of fact, after it was at Hillary and Bill were both attended the funeral of the late former New York Governor Mario Cuomo this week, and Bill was holding the door open for Hillary, and Hillary just stormed. That's the term the media use. Well, actually, it's the London Daily Mail. American media didn't cover this at all. But the Daily Mail said that Hillary stormed past Bill angrily, didn't give him the time of day, didn't even acknowledge his presence. And from Hillary's point of view, someone who thinks that she's going to run for president and win, she's thinking, oh, no, not again. Which is why, of course, the rest of us are laughing hysterically. The blast from the past. Headlines that have been in mothballs for a long time. And I tell you what, if Hillary does make any kind of significant headway towards the Democrat nomination, I'm going to be dusting those off. You can count on that. Story number 5, the Obama economy. Disappointing Christmas and confusing job numbers. Now, this is more of a constant drip, drip, drip. We're headed for the cliff, folks. We're headed for a collapse. It's just a question of when it's going to happen. And here's another harmonic tremor of that trend. Major retailers to shutter stores lay off thousands. The store in question, or stores in question, JCPenney and Macy's, they're shuttering, JCPenney is closing 39 underperforming stores and laying off 2,250 workers, while Macy's announced a restructuring that will shift workers from 830 Macy's and Bloomingdale stores and close 14 more. The moves could cut up to 2,200 employees as the company adapts to shifting consumer tastes and shopping patterns. That means that consumers aren't shopping and they're not buying. Now, of course, the Macy's and JCPenney spokespeople, try to put a brave face on it. Oh no, we're trying to better streamline and tune our retail operations to better serve our customers. No, don't buy that, folks. Growing, prosperous companies aren't closing stores and laying off employees by the thousands. Period. Now that can have many different causes: incompetence, stiff domestic or overseas competition, automation. But in the age of the one, can anybody attempt to say with a straight face that public sector-driven macroeconomic factors aren't the dominant reason the U.S. economy still lies in ruins? 93 million people disappeared from the workforce. I'm holding up my hand. I don't have the Jazzmeus cam on, but I'm holding up my hand. And no matter how many or how much waste paper the Fed churns out and how many happy face stickers the White House and its media sycophants rain over the desiccated wreckage. So, and there's more wreckage to come because Peter Schiff was at it again, echoing me, predicting that, first of all, that the Fed is not going to raise interest rates because it would blow away the Obama economic house of cards. But that's not going to prevent the collapse. In fact, he says that raising interest rates would create a huge economic dislocation, but it's going to be smaller than the collapse that's coming if they, it's right here in this quote. The consequence of refraining from raising interest rates is going to be a currency crisis, a run on the dollar, hyperinflation. Remember recently we talked about how hyperinflation Doesn't happen often, but when it strikes quickly. It's just all of a sudden one day, bam, and your life savings is worthless. Those of you who actually have life savings don't live paycheck to paycheck. That was another story this week. A run on the U.S. bond market, which is going to be substantially worse, a much bigger disaster, far more painful to endure than any type of financial crisis that would have resulted from an increase in interest rates. So, and as I always point out, when that has happened before in other parts of the world, guess who always comes to the rescue? Well, the United States. Who's going to come to our rescue, ladies and gentlemen? Fair question to ask. Story number 4, Obama's royal proclamation announces free community college for everybody. Yeah, free community college for everybody. It reminded me of my parody of Lee Greenwood's Proud to be an American, in which I changed the lyrics a little bit. It goes, well, I'm proud to be an Ob-American where everything is free. And those racist dumb bleeps who oppose him can turn their paychecks over to me. And I heartily belly up to the public trough I feed there still today. For there ain't no doubt I love these handouts. Barack bless the USA. I came up with that 1992, actually. Actually, right around the Clinton inauguration, if I remember right. Still hasn't lost any of its relevance, has it? Now, this is, you got to understand what's going on here. Barack Obama rolled out a new plan Thursday to make 2 years of community college, which is, in other words, that is community college. Community colleges are 2-year, not 4-year, or they wouldn't be community colleges. They used to be called junior colleges, which is why I like using the shorthand JUCO. But make community college free for millions of students across the country, a major boondoggle that the White House cast as changing the face of higher education, which is to say making it more expensive. And, of course, where is not to drag the Constitution into this, but where is the federal power enumerated in the Constitution? Or the power to compel the states, the parents of the federal government, remember, to pick up the rest of the tab? On the other 25%, the federal government would pay for 75% of it. The states would be forced to pay for the other 25%, kind of Medicaid-like. Now, why is Barack Obama doing this? I think it's to try to get back in the good graces of young voters who have deserted the Democrat Party in droves since 2012 as they come to realize that they're the ones that are going to be left holding the bag for all of the excesses, the doubling of the national debt in just, it'll be like 7 years probably, but you get the idea. Doubling the national debt in 2 terms. Amazing, huh? Did you ever think you'd ever see the day? Well, I really had hoped not to. Story number 3, John Boehner reelected Speaker of the House of Representatives. Now, first of all, I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so! I talked about this at length earlier this week on Hard Starboard Radio, but the bottom line is it's very difficult to bring down a sitting House Speaker. Very difficult to do. Usually the only thing that can bring down a sitting House Speaker is his party losing the majority in the House. Now, we don't want that to happen, or at least I guess some Tea Partiers, it would be worth it to them to get rid of John Boehner. And let me hasten to add, as I said last week, as I said the week before on the Saturday afternoon extravaganza, that being American Daily Review and Constitution Radio, I would have had no problem seeing the back of John Boehner going out the door. I mean, John Boehner, I've defended him. I think that his is one of the most, or has been one of the most thankless jobs in Washington, D.C., doing battle with Barack Obama and Harry Reid in front of him while trying to keep Tea Party long knives out of his ribs from behind. And being in a leadership position is like herding cats. You know, you have 435 independent contractors, political entrepreneurs, and trying to get them to all work together and row in the same direction. It ain't easy. Plus, you got to represent all wings of your caucus, not just one of them, which is what Tea Partiers still don't get. And if the Tea Party wing of the House Republican Conference wanted to get rid of John Boehner, they would have started months before. And in fact, a lot of conservatives who wound up voting for Boehner, and by the way, you know who else voted for John Boehner for Speaker? Trey Gowdy. Eric Odom at LibertyNews.com actually posted this week that only the 25 House Republicans who didn't vote for John Boehner were true conservatives. All the other House Republicans support Obamacare, support executive amnesty. They may as well just become Democrats. Trey Gowdy voted to reelect John Boehner Speaker. You think Trey Gowdy is a squish? Shut up. That's the kind of thing, that's that purity fetishism that just drives me nuts. If you're going to take out John Boehner, and I'll reiterate again, I would have been happy to see John Boehner go. Absolutely happy to see him go. But if you're going to take out a sitting House Speaker, you better damn well prepare. You better lay the foundation for it. You better be talking to people in the conference, gathering allies, and you better have a viable, singular challenger in mind who is willing to be the candidate, willing to become Speaker of the House in John Boehner's place. Because if you don't have any of those things, and the Tea Party faction didn't, the ringleaders, Steve King of Iowa, Ted Avasci Hardy's Yo-Ho from Florida, and I can't even remember. Louis Gamert from Texas, and there were a few others. It was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. This was cobbled together, thrown together at the last moment. No preparation, no gathering of allies. I mean, the vote, the 25 votes that didn't go for Boehner went 7 different ways. Oh my God. So I'm sorry, I can't take the Tea Party seriously when they're this incompetent. John Boehner deserved to go down. He shouldn't be Speaker anymore. But if the Tea Party is not going to do what it takes to actually remove him, then they should shut the hell up and stop whining. If you want to win, you got to play the game. And to play the game, you got to prepare. And to prepare, you have to have a candidate, and you have to gather allies. You have to be competent. The Tea Party's not competent at these things. I mean, I'm sure that the GOP establishment, quote unquote, was roaring with laughter at some of the Tea Party whining and bitching and moaning and complaining. And you know what? Biggest irony is, now it's looking like Boehner's going to pave the way for maybe taking on Barack Obama's executive amnesty after all, folks. Yeah, what'll that do for Tea Party relevance? Story number 2. Now, this is in stark contrast. The establishment, you can say what you want about the establishment, I don't care. But some of them are starting to get it. Mitch McConnell, in very, sad but concerned, in a very fatherly way, expressed his disapprobation at Barack Obama's preemptive threat to veto a Keystone XL pipeline bill. That's one of the things that's on the top of the conservative wish list. One of the things that's part of even though it doesn't de facto have this name, the effective 2014 version of the Contract with America, getting the Keystone pipeline bill going. And of course, Barack Obama's been kicking that can down the road for years, and he always will because he's never going to approve it. And so Congress will take it out of his hands, and they're going to pass legislation approving the Keystone Pipeline, and the White House threatened to preemptively veto it. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you what at least the next 2 years are going to be like. Barack Obama's going to veto. And I say, great, lay the groundwork for 2016, for getting back the White House. Make Barack Obama look like the obstructionist that he's going to be. He's had Harry Reid to do it for him for the past 4 years. Now he's going to have to do it himself. He's not going to be able to hide behind Harry Reid. He's not going to be able to hide behind media fellation. He's going to have to do it himself. And there's no way that he's going to be able to make a case that, that's the Republican do-nothing Congress, do-nothing liberal, in other words. Cromnibus notwithstanding. But it won't be the Republican Congress who will be perceived by most Americans as being do-nothing. It will be Barack Hussein Obama. And that will lay the groundwork for 2016, the 2016 campaign, and, God willing, Wisconsin Governor, thrice elected two-term Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, to pick up that baton and run to glory with it, take it to the House, as it were. And McConnell gets it. He didn't go out there and he wasn't angry. He didn't bitch and moan. He was just in a very kind of fatherly, just kind of shaking his head, tisk, tisk, tisk. Yeah, well, you know what? We're going to he claimed the bipartisan moral high ground, ladies and gentlemen. Barack Obama's the extremist. Barack Obama won't even work with us. We're perfectly willing to work with the president. He's not willing to work with us. I tell you, Barack Obama, if he does that, if he goes down that road, it's kind of like that line from X-Men Origins Wolverine where Colonel William Stryker tells Wolverine, if you go down this road, you're not going to like what you find. And that's what Barack Obama's doing. If he goes down this road, he's playing right into Republican hands. Ladies and gentlemen, it is so much fun to watch. And, of course, story number one. A week of terror in France. The attack by jihadists. It's looking increasingly like it was at the instigation of Al-Qaeda or an Al-Qaeda offshoot of two Muslims just, put on masks and commando gear and strolled down I don't know what street, the offices of Charlie Hebdo, the satirical magazine, satirical in quotes. Well, it was satirical. They were just also lewd and crude and disgusting, and they ridiculed everybody. They made fun of Christians. They made fun of Jews. They made fun of Hindus, and you know what? They made fun of Muslims as well. That's the one and only thing I respect about Charlie Hebdo. What was that? The slogan that's emerged since the Charlie Hebdo massacre: "Je suis Charlie." We are Charlie Hebdo. And these jihadists just walked in, just waltzed in with AK-47s, opened fire. In fact, do I have that in the audio cue here? Sometimes I can never remember what I have in each cue. And no, I don't have it. Perfect. But you get the idea. Charlie, they just walked in and mowed down the whole editorial staff, the editor-in-chief, what was his name? His last name is Charbonnier, I think. Stéphane Charbonnier, I think it was what it was. And editorial staff, cartoonists, now here was the part about it that was the most appalling to me. Because it's no surprise jihadists attempting to avenge blasphemy and so on and so forth. In fact, Alan Dershowitz was talking this week, the other day, about how France has reaped what it sowed in terms of appeasing, kowtowing to jihadists in any number of different ways. I mean, allowing Sharia enclaves in major French cities, refusing to, just screwing Israel at every opportunity and helping Hamas. I mean, as Bill Whittle said, a month ago, the so-called Palestinian state is a terror state. It was born in terrorism. It stays alive by terrorism. But here's the point I wanted to get to, folks. Right here. Would you believe that French police had to flee the Charlie Hebdo scene because they were unarmed? I mean, you know what you call an unarmed policeman? Skeet. Or a dunsel, defined as a part which serves no useful purpose. I mean, what is the motto painted on the fenders of most American police cars? To protect and to serve. How in the name of Charles de Gaulle can French law enforcement officers protect anybody if they aren't packing? With kind wishes and pleasant dreams? The picture of unarmed French police riding up on their little bicycles to counter a hail of Muslim machine gun bullets by honking their little handle horns sounds like something out of a Benny Hill skit. And as a result, several Paris cops were among the Charlie Hebdo death toll. And of course, you had the American media, most of which, there were a few exceptions here and there, but the American media refusing to repost or publish any of the Charlie Hebdo photographs, cartoons. And how pathetic is that? I mean, if you believe in free expression, you got to be willing to put something on the line from it. I mean, most of us will not defend to the death your right to say something we disagree with. But I mean, come on, do something. I mean, publishers of Charlie Hebdo did. Saturday afternoon extravaganza continues at kcaaradio.com. Come on over. The Saturday afternoon extravaganza continues.
For the truth, Douglas V. Gibbs on KCAA 1050 AM. www.radiantgreens.com if you want any samples of any of my products. You listen to the Dr. Tony O'Donnell Show. That's it for today. See you next week. Thanks to Gary Garver for producing. Happy New Year to you, Gary. Bless you. Year. Thank you so much. We're back next week, same time, same place. I'm Dr. Tony. God bless you and have a good New Year. Bye-bye for now.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Welcome to Isla Earth. Here's a curious problem. What should you do with old ships, trucks, subway cars, and even military tanks? For one company, California Ships to Reefs, the answer is clear. Sink 'em. Now, as a concerned citizen, this might not seem like such a good idea. But consider this. Artificial reefs, strategically placed, can turn into an underwater oasis thriving with life forms. Corals and sponges are the first to move in. They in turn attract smaller animals that then attract larger sea creatures. After a time, it's hard to tell an artificial reef from a natural one. Now, sinking ships isn't easy. Some 10 years ago, it cost $1.5 million to make a surplus destroyer in the Royal Canadian Navy environmentally ready to serve as an artificial reef off the coast of San Diego, California. Today, it's part of a 500-acre protected marine reserve for sports divers that some claim is returning millions of dollars each year to the local economy through tourism. Not everyone is in favor of sinking ships, some claiming it's just more junk in our oceans. But where habitat has been lost, it creates a new treasure worth exploring. Learn more at islaearth.org. Isla Earth is recorded on the campus of California State University, San Bernardino, and produced by the Catalina Island Conservancy, because Earth is an island.
From the KCAA Weather Center, I'm Rod Tanner. For this afternoon, today partly sunny. There's a slight chance of a late afternoon shower. Our high 67. There's a chance of shower activity continuing tonight. Today mostly cloudy, low 53. There's a 4 in 10 chance of rain on Sunday. Wrapping up the weekend, today mostly cloudy with a high of 64. There's a chance of showers on Sunday night. Today mostly cloudy, low 49. Monday should be a partly sunny day with a high of 63. Tuesday will have sunshine with a high near 70. Again for this afternoon, our high 67. Well, that's your weather forecast for this hour from the station that leaves no listener behind. NBC News Radio, AM 1050 KCAA.
Real talk for real people, right here in the Inland Empire. We are 1050 AM KCAA.
Here's a look at the KCAA Community Calendar. I'm Mark Westwood. Homelessness. It's a big problem in San Bernardino County. There are thousands and thousands of homeless people, many of them children. Well, you can participate in San Bernardino County's Point in Time Count coming up Thursday, January 22nd, 2015. This effort will help promote government and private grant funding and other resources for local communities to help people exit life on the streets and prevent homelessness. You can participate in the Point in Time Count to end chronic homelessness, promote community awareness of homeless issues, and participate on street counter teams. Adult volunteers are needed from every community and from all walks of life, including college students, civic nonprofit organizations, businesses and neighborhood groups, bilingual individuals, service providers, faith-based institutions, and anyone who would like to help alleviate homelessness. Please see the San Bernardino County Homeless Count website at sanbernardinocountyhomelesscounts.com. That's San Bernardino County homelesscounts.com. And that's the KCAA Community Calendar. I'm Mark Westwood.
Hello, everyone. This is Denny Farrell, inviting you to join me right here on KCAA Radio 1050 on the AM dial every Saturday night at 10:05 p.m. for the original Big Band Showcase. What we do is we play the music of the 1920s, 30s, 40s, the great big bands and good jazz groups working today. It's all a part of what we do right here every Saturday night on KCAA.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, Denny Farrell's on the radio. Swing it out there, boys.
It's all a part of what we do right here every Saturday night on KCAA.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen.
Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA News Talk 1050.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Douglas V. Gibbs here on KCAA AM 1050, rebroadcast on KCXL, Kansas City, Missouri, and WHTH Youngstown, Ohio, and Liberty Tree Media Podcasting. Also getting ready to bring this show to you. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you. Joe, how was your how was the last show without me? Because this is my first show of the new year because I was doing something else last Saturday. So Jasmius and Alex were on their own. Joe, did they behave? Did they follow your lead?
It was complete chaos.
Complete chaos,
No
as
idea.
expected. Now, I I wanted to ask Alex about something on that show. I didn't get a chance to listen to it like I wanted to. So I heard this rumor that you are practically on your knees, ready to bow to the great Doug because of my time on Al Jazeera America. Jasmine said you had quite, in other words, a good response to after hearing what I had to say while under fire on Al Jazeera America. What was your response?
Sometimes my effusive praise embarrasses me, but it was well earned, and I simply said that they didn't lay a glove on you. You ate them for lunch. You didn't let them distract you. You didn't let them hit you with a question that included an insult.
Well, they tried to insult me, trust me, but
I just thought you handled it beautifully. Competence is always admirable.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's what we were joking at the very beginning. I'm pretty confident in what I do, but put me under the hood of a car, it's a whole different story. So we got a new year. I think 2015 is a year of action, not just politically, but also on all fronts. And I'm pretty jazzed because today's guest, by the way, next week, real quick, Don Dix of Act for America's Corona chapter will be here, talk about political Islam. And tonight I'm going to be at a screening of a film that they're putting on, Europe's Last Stand, which is going to be interesting. But anyway, he's our guest in studio next Saturday, and I know Alex is looking forward to that as always. But today we have, let me give you a little story. See, last June, I think it was June 6th, I think was the date, a friend of mine who's actually helping me work on our new website for this show and what I do, we decided we're going to go have lunch in Old Town Temecula. And we're walking by, what was it, a root beer shop or something like that,
Old Town root beer.
Yeah, and there's this DeLorean sitting out front, and it looks eerily like the car that was in Back to the Future. Matter of fact, it looked to me exactly like. What I'm finding out is it isn't exactly like, but it looked exactly like that car. And so we walk up, man, and I got some pictures and all this other stuff. We got to talking to the gentleman who was, had the car on display, and with the haircut that he likes to sport, he looked eerily like Doc Brown. He says he looks nothing like Doc Brown, but perhaps a little bit, enough to sell the scene. But anyway, and so it was pretty fun. Got pictures in the Back to the Future car, or at least that's what it looked like. I was ready to do some time traveling, and got to talking to the guy, and it was just a pleasure. And so I told him, hey, one of these days we ought to get you on the radio program. But here's what impressed me about him. Well, we're going to talk a little Back to the Future first, but here's what impressed me about him and what he was doing is the charities that he's involved in and the reality shows and all of that, and it's all centered around these particular charities. And I have a lot of respect for someone like that. It's like people who know me know that I'm a capitalist. If I start making good money doing what I'm doing, I'll take it. However, my driving force is not that. My driving force is the United States Constitution and restoring the Republic. This gentleman's driving force are these charities, missing children. And I was so impressed by that. I wanted to get him on the program to talk about those things. So on the air with us is Paul, Doc Nye. And I guess, what do you call yourself, Doc Brown's cousin? Is that what we say?
Well, I think distant cousin. Basically, Chris is a little bit taller than me. However, we do have every once in a while the instinct to yell out, "Great Scott!"
Well, and you know quite a bit of trivia about the movies I was noticing when we talked.
Oh, my goodness. I get eliminated whenever I go to DeLorean shows. They won't let me play. And I'm not that good. But, of Go ahead, fill
Yeah,
something. Let's see.
well, you know, I was.
First, Doug, I want to tell you, it's very rare that I remember a date exactly, and the 6th of June was the date that I was there. Why I would remember that, I don't know, but why you remember it is I really don't know.
That was the invasion of Normandy, wasn't it?
Was that it?
I believe it was.
Yeah, well, for some reason, the date stuck in my head. But the gentleman that was with me, his name is Randy, and like I said, he's more or less becoming my IT guy and right arm and on a lot of the things that I do. And we just decided, we'll just go have lunch, in Old Town. And I don't know who was more excited about seeing the car, he or I, because we're both a couple of, we're kind of a couple of nerds when it comes to, sci-fi movies and that kind of stuff. We love that kind of stuff. But now, we were talking about this earlier. There were 3 cars that were used in the movie, and I thought that this car was one of them, but it wasn't. What has happened to the 3 cars, the DeLoreans that were used as time machines in the Back to the Future movies?
Well, actually, Doug, there was actually far more than 3. My
Really?
agent, oh yeah, they had 7. Although go on the ride at Universal Studios, the tram tour, and they'll tell you 17. But Bob Gell, who is a good friend that produced and directed and wrote the doggone thing with Robert Zemeckis, told me that he believes it's 7. It could possibly be 8. 3 are left, and that's where you heard me say that.
Okay.
3 are left that we know of, unless Spielberg's hiding one somewhere. And one of them's over at Universal Studios in Orlando. One's out here, been restored, and it's inside the old Lucy display. And the third one was sold to a private party, I believe in 2005, maybe 3, somewhere around early 2000, restored and is owned by another individual now. And that's the Back to the Future Part 3 car. And by the way, that's not a DeLorean. That's a Volkswagen with a DeLorean chassis.
Yeah, when you were telling me that's interesting. And really, Back to the future really isn't much of the future anymore since it is 2015. Because wasn't that the year?
Well, this is the year, but we're not at the exact date yet or the time. Did I say that was a DeLorean chassis? I meant it was a Volkswagen chassis.
Volkswagen chassis.
We're at the future right now, so I don't know why you're not wearing your futuristic clothing and flying here in your car.
Well, I'm betting on the Cubs this year.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. Well, now the movie had such an impact. It was a fun movie. Michael J. Fox, incredible actor. I had a lot of fun watching him. But Doc Brown's character and Christopher Lloyd, of course, he has this way about him. Of course, my favorite role of his is still as a Klingon, but that's a whole different story.
Oh my gosh. I have to go back to Taxi, but
yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. But anyway. And you've kind of taken on the persona, but you were saying earlier that you really didn't originally intend to do that.
No, I thought that I was just going to go ahead and dress like Doc, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the reality show that I'm in, and I kind of got stuck with the sidekick name of Doc, and
right.
That was in 2008. You know what? It's been with me ever since, and you're probably you let everybody know out there my first name is Paul. So now instead of 6 people knowing that, 6,000 people.
Oh, well, I apologize for that, but
that's okay.
Yeah, but Doc Nye. I tell you what, go look up Doc Nye on Facebook. Befriend him. He's got plenty of friends, but he can always use more. Now let's talk a little bit about the Fireball Run. I want to learn a little bit about this. This is an event that you do with the DeLorean, right?
Correct. The Fireball Run is the brainchild of executive producer and founder Jay Sanchez. Basically, he was a businessman that was very high up in his community, still is, and he felt that a lot of organizations out there do good for missing children and other organizations, but they just give money, and we never know where money is going to go. And his idea was, why don't we just go out and look for these kids ourselves? And he had done One Lap America. He knew Brock Yates personally. You know the story of the whole 55 mile an hour and the race that they did across the nation that later became a movie called The Cannonball Run.
Right.
Well, we're kind of like that, but we're legal.
But we're legal.
For a greater cause. And I'll tell you, this is what I have. I have about 10 seconds to get through to people when I first see them, and usually this is what they'll hear me say. We're 40 teams on an 8-day, 2,000-mile journey that's epic across the nation, which we figure out missions. We do it for a greater cause, bragging rights, and a plastic road sign, and we'll do anything for that plastic road sign. But the greater cause is each one of the teams represents one of America's missing children, and off of 8 seasons, we've located 44 abducted kids, either in the recovery or aiding, and that makes us now the world's largest active child recovery program.
Wow, and the child that you represent right now is Austin Cole Hernandez, right?
That is correct, and I have had Austin now the last 4 fireballs. The thing is, I was given a child the first year, and that child was found. Second year found, third year found, and I just thought when I got Austin, we'd put him on the world's most famous movie car, and he'd be found, and it didn't work out that way. Austin was taken April 28th, 1997, at the age of 10 months. And he just turned 18 this last year, and he's out there somewhere with his natural father, but he does not know another half of a family up in Tehachapi, California, his mother and his other siblings and relatives.
Okay, so he hasn't been found yet.
No.
But, that's one of the things that when I first met you last June, that struck me was how passionate you are about this, and all of the charities and everything that you do. You're very passionate about it, and you put a lot into it. So it sounds like this is more than just something you do. Have you gotten to know the family, or?
You know, on the first 3, I never did, and one of them was very close. I used to live in Bakersfield, and one was out of Shafter, and she'd been missing a year and a half, and I thought that had been a long time to be gone, and then try and find her. So in this case, I have, and it's kind of funny because I'll be out and about, and I dress, you guys out on the radio can't see me. Hello, all you guys on the web that are looking at us right now. I dress nothing but Fireball Run clothing 24/7. I think I sleep in this stuff. And I've had a lot of people come up to me that say, I'm a cousin or I'm an aunt, I'm an uncle to the family. I have not personally met the mother. We've texted, but I have personally met the twin sister of the mother that's missing this child. And so our thing is basically bringing awareness. The Fireball Run has no heroes in it, just a lot of concerned people out. And what each team does is start with 1,000 flyers, and they pass out. So you consider production crew is probably another 20, 22, 25 vehicles. So maybe 65 to 75,000 flyers will get passed out during that 8 days. We'll generate anywhere from $45 to $55 million in media coverage, both nationally, local, and worldwide. We've even had Nancy Grace close her show saying, tonight you can rest assured the Fireball's out there looking for your kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, now we're got a break coming up, so I wanted to remind everybody that when you listen to the when you listen to these ads, remember these are the folks that bring the show to you. All Star Collision there in Corona has been a fantastic contributor to this show and keeping the show on the air, as has Constitution Quest, who's been with us since day one. Now, when we go into break, not only do I want you to think about what you're hearing when it comes to the ads, but also think about calling in at 888-909-1050, 888-909-1050 if you want to join the conversation, even if you want to talk a little Back to the Future trivia. And I think we're going to get into that a little bit when we come back, so don't go anywhere. And real quick, Alex, did I'm dominating this conversation, didn't really give you a chance. You're familiar, I take it, with the Back to the Future series of movies, right?
Well, I'm an old believer in the adage that if you have nothing to say, the best thing to do is shut up. I share Parkinson's disease with Michael J. Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And therefore, I kind of keep an eye on the guy. His version, it's like dyslexia, which simply means can't read, and there's a million different causes. It seems like Parkinson's is an illness that affects people in very different ways, and tragically it seems to be really messing him up a lot worse than so far it has messed me up. But it is a connection, and another reason I feel connected is because that's such a wonderful movie. The 3 movies I understand they filmed them all at once.
Just the second and third.
Okay, second and third.
The first was a standalone.
Okay, but the concept, everything about that movie was first rate.
And did you know that some of its predictions came true? That's something else we're going to talk about after the break.
And I'm going to surprise all the fireballers out there with a very special announcement that's going to be just for you past, present, and future fireballers.
From the KCAA.
What's your constitutional IQ? Your quest to learn the Constitution can be fun for the whole family. Learn about the Constitution as you play the Constitution Quest board game. Learn more at constitutionquest.com.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Our records indicate you've been lied to. Welcome to the truth. Douglas V. Gibbs on KCAA 1050 AM.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The true patriots of All-Star Collision have been proudly serving the Inland Empire for over 20 years. Built on honesty, integrity, quality, and old-fashioned customer service, we offer lifetime warranties for our work, and every vehicle serviced by All-Star Collision is washed, detailed, the headlights polished, fluids are checked and topped off, safety checked, and returned in showroom condition. We offer free estimates, are approved by major insurance companies, and accept all claims for all cars and trucks. We use computerized frame straightening to factory specifications, offer fiberglass body repair and paint, free local pickup and delivery, and after-hours towing. Mention this radio program at drop-off and receive $100 off or a free rental car for up to 5 days during your repair. Visit us at allstarci.com or at 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Call us at 951-279-9161. We are the kings of wreck and roll.
San Bernardino, Loma Linda, Rialto listens to KCAA Radio.
Welcome back, Constitutional Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs. You're on the air on KCAA AM 1050 with Douglas V. Gibbs, Doc Nye, and Alex Ferguson. And somewhere we've got Jasmius. Jasmius, do we have Jasmius there, Joe? Is he with us? Jasmius is up in the state of Washington, out there somewhere near Seattle, and it seems that tonight he's going to be following some little bitty little team up there playing some game. What are they called? Seattle Seahawks or something? Some small, good-for-nothing team. Isn't that right, Jasmius?
An orange and
Oh, you're sounding awful. You sounded awful. Your connection was terrible.
That's Jim Ignatowski. That's not Doc Brown.
This is Doc Nye next to me.
Oh, I don't know. That's the name of the taxi.
Yeah. So now, what is this minor league team the Seahawks playing tonight? What are they doing again?
Well, the minor league team would be the Carolina Panthers, who are coming to a brutal end tonight at CenturyLink Field.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Yeah, well, welcome on the air with us. We got Doc Nye between us, and I was getting ready to ask him, but real quick, I wanted you to participate here. I was going to ask him, what was it that got him involved with these charities and why missing children is such an important issue to him. He mentioned off of the air his previous profession, which apparently is definitely an influence. Please describe.
Well, I'd always, we all have our bucket list, and the things when we grow up, and I wanted to be a cop, and so I did. And the first year that I was in the Fireball Run in 2008, which was kind of fluke because I should have never even known about it, but I was at a show and saw a Batmobile with a Route 66 sticker on it. And he said, it's not Route 66, that's Fireball 66. And we got to talking, he got me interested, and that year I went in with about 3 months prior to the actual filming. And they had signed a young little girl, I believe she's 8 years old. I can't say her last name, and I wouldn't anyway out of respect to the family now because she is home. But that child was located. that year. And I think when you have something happen in your life, I tell people all the time, if you will find Austin for me, I'll give you this or I'll give you that. And most people just say, if I can just find that child, that would be good enough. And so I've never had any type of abduction in my life, no family members, anything like that. But just having a cop background and having that first fireball run and that child located made a big difference. 2 years later, I retired, and like I said earlier, this is what I do, 365 days a year.
And being connected to this, you've had you've become a reality show star, right?
Well, I don't know.
A little bit of stardom there?
Maybe not the stardom thing. I think, of course, the car gets attention no matter where I go. But Doc, it's kind of funny because when I got out of the car, whether I had long hair or not, everybody yelled Doc. I guess it's my age. I don't know. Now I don't even have to be in the car, and I get out of my regular car and they yell Doc. Now I got to worry. But when I say reality show, I say that loosely because the Fireball Run is more of a series,
Right.
and it's more of like a travel channel type of thing where you really watch the Fireball Run to watch a bunch of people do some really crazy stuff, but it's not about building personal characters. The Fireball Run doesn't leave you knowing who Chumley and Rick and the old man, all that is. The Fireball Run leaves you with destinations.
Right.
Man, I want to go where they went. And at the same time, hope to spread the word that we're looking for these missing children at the same time.
Now, Jasmius, who's on the air with us there up in the state of Washington, and I are both huge Back to the Future fans.
Yay.
And so I wanted him to participate in this. Let's see, how many predictions, Jasmius, did we have in those movies? I mean, there's quite a few predictions, right? Aside from the Cubs winning the World Series, I mean.
Well, they predicted that there would be a baseball team in Florida that only the mascot was the Gators. They predicted there would be 19 different Jaws movies. Let's see, and they predicted that we wouldn't be doing so well economically, so that was pretty accurate. Difference being, it would be Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis thought that the Japanese would be our overlords as opposed to the Chinese, but a lot of it was pretty close.
Oh, you're missing
I
Diane. Queen Diane's visit to the United States.
Oh, Queen Diane.
It's in the newspaper. Read it.
I must have been. It wasn't in the dialogue, so it must have been in one of those. Something you'd have to stop the replay of the movie and say, "Oh, well, Queen Diana, yeah."
They kind of predicted Islamic terrorism with that Volkswagen van, didn't they?
Yeah, well,
the Libyans.
That actually ties into something else I asked Doc about, and he didn't know about this. If you look this up, there are videos out there about how the Back to the Future movie predicted 9/11. The name of that mall where that happened was the Twin Pines,
and then Lone,
and then it became the Lone Pine later. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if you look at the time when they go by it is 6/11 upside down is 9 or 11. No, it's 6/11 I think is what it says, or something like that. And upside down it says 9/11 or something like that. Then there's a scene inside a room where the future room where she says she has to change the window. And the future window, and it's a scene of New York skyline with the Twin Towers, and then in the room there's actually the torch from the Statue of Liberty, and then when she changes the screen, the the Twin Towers go up and up and up, but the husband is hanging upside down, so to him, the towers are falling down, 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 things like that.
Oh, my gosh.
There are things like that from the movie that conspiracy theorists have put out there. And I don't know whether or not I believe this stuff, but they've decided that Back to the Future predicted 9/11. There's more to it, too. There's a video out there I was watching, and it was absolutely fascinating. But anyway, get back on target here. The movie, though, you were telling me has more predictions that have come true than any other movie. Is that what
it's incredible. But the two Bobs did by putting this. And when you stop to think about it, this was Robert Zemeckis' big break after a couple failures. And he'd went to Spielberg with this after 2 flops, and Spielberg said, I don't think so. You need to go out and do something. And he did, Romancing the Stone. He came back and presented that to Robert, and Robert went with it. And they're in tune. I mean, they had the newspapers, everything that was written in, what was it, Japanese or whatever, they had it checked there, by people that were linguistics in that. They wanted everything to be right, because even though VHS, you couldn't do, like you were saying, stop and freeze and read it, they knew someday you would be able to. Right. So their thought of predictions was incredible.
They didn't want to have any entries on goof entries on Internet Movie Database, which they didn't know about at the time.
Yeah. No,
they could have predicted it.
Well, yeah, so off the top of your head, do you know some of these predictions that came true?
Well, we scan cars nowadays with barcodes, but the cars don't have the barcodes. You don't need that to scan it. And actually, there are quite a few, but it would take me another 3-hour show to go through them.
Yeah, and one of the first things out of Doc's mouth when we went to break was, "Wow, that went fast." And I'm like, "You don't even know." Every week we say we need more than an hour. Now, I want to get back into some of the things that you're doing, and you really didn't get a chance to talk about Austin as much as you wanted to. And we're looking at images here on a flyer that you have, and Alex made a comment about the age progression. So you got the picture of Austin as a baby, then as an older child, and that's progression. How do they do that, and how accurate is that?
Okay, I didn't work in law enforcement with this particular way of dealing with looking for missing children. I was a patrol cop, but I will tell you that I've talked to the people that do, and they say that when they find the children, it's impressive how close these photographs are. I call it a photograph. I'm looking at a picture of what looks like an 18-year-old young boy, 17, 18-year-old young boy, and I know in my mind that it's nothing more than a computer-generated picture of mom at that age, dad at that age, and the son at 10 months old. So you've got younger parents with their ages then. And this is upgraded every 1 or 2 years so that we have a more accurate look at what the child looks like. And it's just totally amazing. It looks like a real picture of what he would look like right now.
I would have predicted that was entirely impossible. But then again, I'm not a computer person. These computers are just getting outrageous.
Well, it has something to do with they know how the body structure works, how the growth thing, goes, and none of us look like we did when we were little kids, so apparently they know why that happens.
Well, and as I like to tell people, because people were amazed when they see me younger, mainly because I was skinny, and
you got that problem too, huh?
yeah, I was a long distance runner. I ran marathons, and then one day, I quit running, and one day I looked down and my feet were gone.
The exercise quotient goes down, but the meal quotient remains the same.
Exactly. Well, folks tell me, they say, Doug, you've aged really well. You really don't have a lot of wrinkles. And I say, that's not because I'm aging well, it's because I'm fat. It pushes the skin out. You can't have wrinkles. But, but seriously, as we age, we become wiser and we use our past experiences to move forward. And I think that's kind of what you're doing here is you've had a life of experiences, and now you have found something that you appreciate, that you want to be a part of. And as I said before, your passion regarding Austin Hernandez and wanting him to be found is absolutely incredible. I mean, this is not just something that you do to do. I mean, this is something that's important to you.
Oh, most definitely. This is my life savings, everything. My kid, Tamara, out there somewhere. Sorry, honey, I'm spending your inheritance looking for kids. Real quick, though, I would like to send your listeners to a few websites. Okay. TeamTimeCar.com is my team during the Fireball Run, Team Time Car, which is team number 15, which stands for the year 2015. And
we're there.
That's because 88 was taken at the time. Then FireballRun.com is our show, and you can go there, and we're on Addie's TV, we're on Roku, we're on iTunes, we're on Smart TV, Google Plus, Google Play, Amazon Fire TV. I mean, I could go on and on and on. There's ones I don't even know about. And I promised some of those guys out there that I would tell them about something else coming up, and that is something that I think all the fireballers out there would love to participate in. Anything that promotes the Fireball Run to me is a positive thing. And this is a show that's just now getting picked up by a producer for a possible reality TV show, and it's called Reality Rally. It's been happening for the past 4 years in Temecula, California. 130 to 150 reality show stars show up. And the Amazing Race is there, so you got to have the Fireball Run there too. Hell's Kitchen, Survivor, all of them. So realityrally.com is the website there. Fireballers, I'm giving you a challenge out there. If you're listening to this show right now, come on down here and be a part of Reality Rally and support the Fireball Run.
You know, and Temecula is known for its rod runs and all of that, and so it just seems fitting to have that event out in Temecula.
Well, there's going to be thousands of people there. It's a 2-day event in April.
Now, Jasmius, as we're talking, did you have any Back to the Future questions or questions about the charities?
Fire away.
Well, I did want to point out that the date in 2015 when DeLorean will pop into the sky is October the 21st.
Correct. You're good.
October the 21st, 2015.
You're one of the few.
2015? You mean we're in the future? Yeah, I've got that on my computer. I've watched it many times.
Now, see, as good as I am with movies, I'm nothing compared to Jasmine. So we'll be on the phone sometimes during the week, and he'll pop stuff into the conversation. I'll go, really? I don't even remember that. Wait, let me write this down. I have to look it up. Between Star Trek, Star Wars, the Back to the Future movies and things like that. But anyway, that all said,
I can't help it.
You can't. Now, that all said, we've got some big stories of the week that we're going to be discussing in a minute. But I want Doc Nye to participate with us on something. Every week we have the Constitution Quest Question of the Week. Constitution Quest Question of the Week. Constitution Quest game is a board game in which you can learn the Constitution playing with your family and friends. And the question of the week comes off of one of the game cards from the game. And we go over this every week. This week it comes, once again, from ConstitutionQuest.com, Constitution Quest board game. Here's the question. Are you ready, Joe? Because we always ask Joe first.
Ready as always.
He's the least likely to get it right, but he's getting better.
He's a canary in the coal mine.
Canary in the coal mine. There you go. All right, the Eighth Amendment, which you knew there was an Eighth Amendment, right, Joe?
Of course.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah. The Eighth Amendment, how many amendments are there, Alex? Do you know?
23.
27, you're close. All right. The Eighth Amendment prevents the court from A, keeping the accused in jail for not providing bail, B, imposing cruel and unusual punishment, or C, both A and B. Joe?
One more time.
All right. The Eighth Amendment prevents the court from A, keeping the accused in jail for not providing bail, B, imposing cruel and unusual punishment, C, both A and B.
B.
B, you're saying imposing cruel and unusual punishment. Alex?
I'll take C.
You're going to take C, which is both A and B. What do you think, Doc Nye, thinking about this?
I'm going with D myself.
You're going with D.
Play it safe.
Great, Scott.
I'm looking for supporters and people donating money to me. I love you all.
I'm not messing this one up. Jasmius?
Well, I got to go with age before beauty, so I'll go with C.
You're going to go with C. For the first time in a long time, Jasmius is wrong.
Oh.
In fact, Joe, who always is wrong and everybody else is right, nailed it. It's B. Impose cruel and unusual punishment. But now, here's the reason why this is a controversial thing. What is cruel and unusual punishment?
Trying to fit everything into this 1 hour.
Yeah, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Okay, well, now, cruel and unusual punishment is, in other words, something that's outside the ordinary. See, we have in today's configuration of our world, we think, well, whatever the media says is cruel and unusual, so don't pour water up his nose because that's cruel and unusual. Cruel and unusual is something that's out of the ordinary for whatever. In other words, if the punishment doesn't fit the crime and isn't consistent with the punishments for that crime with other people, that's cruel and unusual. And what was happening is the British colonists were being punished in ways that Englishmen back in England were not for the same type of thing. And that's what inspired this particular amendment in the Bill of Rights. So There you go. Joe, I want you to remember today. Since everybody else is remembering dates today, you have to remember today's date. Now,
Should Joe get a ring?
Yeah, what was that? Would you get that out of the Cracker Jack box there in Seattle for the what are they? The Sea Eagles? The Sea what?
No, actually, it came from a fan organization that happens to be in Florida, so I'm not sure about the geography of that, but 40% off replica.
Oh,
I got 2 of them. They sent me an extra one, so
They sent you an extra one?
Yeah, I'm figuring I'll just use that one for the Super Bowl 49 championship.
See, it's just disgusting having Seattle fans on the show. All right, now before we go to break, you got anything that you want to throw in there, real quick, Doc Nye?
At some point, just want to put out there that we are looking for Austin Cole Hernandez. He is 18 years old, and if you do find him or know of his whereabouts, we do have a phone number that you can call at teamtimecar.com.
And we'll be right back. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more with Doc Nye, and we're going to go through the big stories of the week and the book of the week. We'll be right back.
KCAA.
If it weren't for the Constitution, nothing would get done. Constitution Speaker Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs on KCAA 1050 AM.
The true patriots of All-Star Collision have been proudly serving the Inland Empire for over 20 years. Built on honesty, integrity, quality, and old-fashioned customer service, we offer lifetime warranties for our work, and every vehicle serviced by All-Star Collision is washed, detailed, the headlights polished, fluids are checked and topped off, safety checked, and returned in showroom condition. We offer free estimates, are approved by major insurance companies, and accept all claims for all cars and trucks. We use computerized frame straightening to factory specifications, offer fiberglass body repair and paint, free local pickup and delivery, and after-hours towing. Mention this radio program at drop-off and receive $100 off or a free rental car for up to 5 days during your repair. Visit us at allstarci.com or at 522 Railroad Street in Corona. Call us at 951-279-9161. We are the kings of wreck and roll.
The most diversified radio station on the dial, AM 1050 KCAA.
Welcome back, Constitution Radio with Douglas V. Gibbs. If only you could hear sometimes the discussions off the air.
No.
You wouldn't want to. Trust me, you do not. Yeah, well, story number 6 has something to do with Bill Clinton, which probably gets close to what we were talking about.
Probably gets close to violating FCC regulations.
Yeah, matter of fact, I use that exact term while we're off the air. Yeah. Alex mentioned something he thought he wanted to say and decided not to, thank God. And then I talked about my little Bush, remark.
Yeah, we know that.
It could have been a sticky situation.
Could have been a sticky Yeah, okay.
It's heavy.
I get it. Heavy. Is there something wrong in the future? Everything's so heavy. Okay.
You better stop while you're ahead.
All right. One more time, I want you to plug teamtimecar.com real quick, because this is really important stuff, folks. These charities, missing kids, this is huge, and I really want you to be giving, participate, because a lot of this stuff also requires donations, and so as you're going through his sites and the different things involved with what he's doing, with your huge heart, an open wallet, help them out, because these organizations really need help. Go ahead.
Well, thanks, Doug. And I'm not ignoring you over here, Alex. I see you sitting there. I don't hear you much, but and I didn't know you were here today.
Oh, trust me. Sometimes he spends all kinds of time.
Well, I'll have to dig in the Doc Nye goodie bag later and see if I can find one of these before I leave. But this is what I wore here today. This is what I was wearing, and it's one of 100 Team Time Car official lapel pins, and that's for you right there.
Why, thank
you. And I know I probably got another one for you over there. And check this out. Team Time Car is let's face it, I'm a retired cop, and we don't don't live on the greatest pensions in the world, and it takes the support of sponsors. And I want to thank some of our previous sponsors, Alien Fresh Jerky out there in Baker and Authentic Design Group in Lake Elsinore. But right now we're in between sponsors, and to be in the 2015 Fireball Run and look for Little Austin again, we need some help. And so if you go to teamtimecar.com and go to sponsorships, we have sponsorships. We're not NASCAR. Sponsorships start very low and they don't go that high, and you're helping because by donating to us, we're able to put the money where we need to keep the car on the road and in the Fireball Run. Unfortunately, finding missing kids is a fantastic thing, but hotels still need to be paid, and gasoline still needs to be bought, and those things, and we still eat during that 8 days. And next year it's on the East Coast, which is going to be really hard because we're going to start in Hartford, Connecticut, and finish down at the Kennedy Space Center around there. And so just getting over there and getting back is going to take several $1,000s. If you have a transport company, now's the time to give me a call. So once again, that's teamtimecar.com. And if you'd like to donate, we're trying to raise $1,000 for breast cancer with Reality Rally. You can go to realityrally.com, and up in the top bar, press Reality Stars. Underneath that, there'll be a drop-down bar, 2015 Reality Star lineup. Look for Doc Nye, and just click on that and make your donation right there. And it's just $1,000. What's that?
And thanks, Doc Nye, for all that you do. And I appreciate the pin. Thank you, the lapel pin. I got plenty of jackets to wear that with, right next to my American flag.
I have a question, and I hesitate. My wife and I watch cop shows all the time on TV. I see so many, the reality ones, and I see so many situations where these abductions go bad. Is this a factor in what you're doing?
Yeah, actually, unfortunately, it is. 2,100 kids go missing every day in America. In the time we've done this show, it's coming up, when it comes up on the hour, 90 children will have gone missing. The good news is half of those are like Doug here when he was 12 years old. They went over to Jimmy's house and didn't tell Mom on the way home from junior high. And, they go from they love you to death, they want to kill you. And then out of that remaining half of those are runaways. And we look for those too because we don't care why they're gone. You just want your kid back. Out of the remaining half of those are non-custodial abductions, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, stuff like that. It gets down to a very small portion that fall into two categories, Alex. One is going to be the front page. They're both front page news, but one we know the ending, the Mark Klosses or Polly Kloss of the world, the Adam Walshes of the world. And yet there is a group that's equally as important, but they're just gone. And that could have been Doug or myself or even you, and that's going out and digging in the trench and have it fall in or washing away down an embankment or something, and you're just gone. But so the actual percentage is quite small of the front page kids. But the thing is, when you get abducted as a child, the first 24 hours is the most critical, and we need to get you back, Fortunately, I'm looking for a child. People ask me all the time, how do I know if Austin is still alive? Well, he's with his natural father. That's a big, huge difference. I'm sure his father loves him. But, folks, social media didn't exist when this kid was taken 17.5 years ago, so we know that Austin's got a Facebook page. We know he's got Google+. We know he's got all those things an 18-year-old would have now. So please tune in to Team Time Car. Watch some of our videos that we're going to be posting for Austin, and we plan to find Austin this year. That's our goal.
I heard you mention the name Walsh. Do you work with him at all?
Unfortunately, John is very busy man nowadays, and we've thought about working with him. We work with Jeff Grismeyer of the Child Rescue Network right now, and we worked 2 years, a couple of years back with Mark Kloss with the KlossKids.org, and these are wonderful people to work with, but and we're back with Jeff with the Child Rescue Network, but we have our own little thing called the Race to Recover America's Missing Children. And although we're not a real foundation yet, I think someday we probably will be, and we'll probably supply our own, look for, get kids through us. But right now, big shout out to Jeff out there with the Child Rescue Network. He's doing a lot to help us find missing children.
It couldn't be a more worthwhile, anybody would agree that it couldn't be a more worthwhile cause. And I'll tell you what, I'll pledge you $50 right now.
Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say.
Well, and Alex is going to pledge $50, and I put it out there for others to join me and Alex in our pledges to this cause.
Wow.
Now, that said, because there's something called a clock, let me add this real quick. Book of the week. The book of the week this week is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, because we the people have the power. The Constitution begins with the words "we the people," not we the lawyers, not we the politicians, not we the judges, but we the people. We have the power, but we have to understand what that power is. And the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene goes into explaining those powers that we have available to us to restore the republic. Understanding the Constitution, understanding the Owner's Manual of America is a part of the battle, but the Constitution's only ink and paper if you don't put it into action. And finally, as we wrap up today's show, there was 14 stories that I went a few with, and Jasmine has carried the rest of them on American Daily Review earlier, blogtalkradio.com/American Daily Review to hear the first 2 hours of the show where we go over the big stories of the week. Here are the stories that we went over. Story number 14, once there was a communist, said to a communist, in other words, Barack Obama and Cuba, and to Barack Obama's surprise, Cuba has reneged on, have they reneged, or are they just that slow, Jasmine?
Well, I mean, Barack Obama was quick to release the 3 Cuban spies that but for some reason, the Castro brothers aren't in any hurry to release the 53 political prisoners that they were supposed to release as part of this deal of our recognizing Cuba.
Story number 13, a few earthquakes in diverse places. In Oklahoma in 2014, they've had more earthquakes than they have in the last 30 years. And in Texas, not just recently, last week, they had 9 earthquakes in one day, 3 of them 3.0 or stronger. And that's a fascinating. Now, we're talking about the Madrid...
New Madrid seismics.
Yeah, they're in Missouri, yeah.
They're seeing an increase there, too. And a lot of geologists believe that we're overdue for another huge earthquake there in the Midwest, and so I mean they assign the chances of that in the next 30 years at 95%. So it might be imminent, but it's going to be coming sooner or later.
Story number 12 is called Wrong Tribe, and it goes over some of the different things that have been going on between the party system. And I think you said it best when you wrote this: primitive tribalism epitomizes the left. Right tribe, wrong tribe is my verbal shorthand for how liberals endlessly attribute the worst, wickedest, most evil motivations to Christians and conservatives and Republicans for everything, how they psychologically project their own hatreds and bigotries and vices upon us, not as an act of moral purging or absolution or even scapegoatery, but as an expression of the inherent moral superiority they have claimed for themselves. It's a function of the reality that left-wing ideology doesn't work in real-world practice. Consequently, a reflection of how Marxism has come to be a de facto religion for its stubbornly barren, woebegone adherents. It's a blind, godless creed that can only fortify itself by shunning and demonizing all those who reject its practical and, yes, moral bankruptcy. I think you wrote that, and that was Jasmine that wrote that on Political Pistachio, and I think that pretty much nails it.
Well, I've said for many years that, or not many years, it's only been a couple of years that we've had the problem in our face like it is, but I've been saying that the fight against communism is reflected in the fight against the Islamic fascists. And one of the things that is most evident is that when I talk to my leftist friends, they always say, "Well, that don't tell me about Pol Pot or Mao Zedong or Stalin or any of those people. That wasn't real communism." And isn't that right? And then we've got Obama and that idiot in France saying that this isn't really Islam.
Yeah, Francois Hollande, the socialist president of France.
Completely identical excuse and cover for what's really going on.
Story number 11, criminal charges recommended against General Petraeus. What were they regarding again there, Jasmus?
Well, it stems back to the affair that director at the time, Petraeus, had with...
Yeah, he gave out information he shouldn't, basically, during his affair.
With his ghostwriter for his autobiography, and he left... he allowed access to classified information, and only now is the Obama administration deciding to prosecute General Petraeus as a distraction from the complete disaster that his Iraq policies have become.
It's a lot better than what Obama and his crew do. Every time there's a success, an intelligence success, they just spike the ball and tell the world all the things that they need. I think we lost a whole bunch of SEAL Team 6 people in a helicopter crash that we may attribute. So here's Pretorius talking to a woman who's got security clearances.
Story number 10, baby, it's cold outside. Yeah, polar ice growing and thickening. We've got, did you know the Mars temperatures are warmer than 14 states in the United States right now?
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Okay, we got story number 9, gun control push by Democrats drives gun sales up.
It isn't so much the gun control push as it is Barack Obama's self-styled race war.
Well, I think that helps too. Story number 8, Senator Barbara Boxer announces retirement. I got phone call after phone call after phone call the moment that was announced, people telling me about that. Story number 7, illegal alien driver's license law takes effect in California. We're talking lines upon lines upon lines of people. How many states we got now? 11 states?
Something like that. And also, California is going to be buying illegal aliens' car insurance as well. So free cars will be next.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a right. All right. Story number 6. I couldn't wait to get to this one. I'm sorry. Bill Clinton and the pedophile. You heard the old joke, you know. Never mind. I see that's a problem with Clinton jokes. You can't tell them on the radio.
You know what? Hillary is not happy.
Hillary's not happy. Now what this is there's a former friend of Clinton who's a pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. What is this, regular orgies in the Caribbean compound?
Well, he had his own island, and allegedly he was prosecuted for this 6 years ago, and then there's this recent civil suit, and that's where Bill Clinton's name surfaced.
Oh, wow. So we got more than just stains on a dress. Story number 5, the Obama economy.
See what we mean, folks?
You just can't talk about Clinton with a straight face. The Obama economy, disappointing
Certainly
Christmas and confusing job numbers. So major retailers have really got hit hard in December. Didn't do as well as they had hoped. The unemployment rate, now figure this one out. The unemployment rate has dropped to 5.6, yet the number of Americans not in the workforce is at record numbers.
92,898,000 and counting.
But how does we know the answer, but how does the unemployment rate go down when there's a record number of people that are not working?
Well, every worker that is drops off the unemployment rolls ceases to exist as part of the workforce.
And wages have been falling. Oh, by the way, it doesn't work so well in France. They have abandoned their 75% tax rate against the rich. Story number 4, Obama's royal proclamation announces free college for all, or at least that first 2 years. He said something about that college should be like high school where it's just, doesn't he understand that if you hand something out freely, it becomes worthless?
Well, the college students are reading at about a 7th grade level, incoming students. So
you could say that 7th grade students are reading at a college level.
When I deal with students from other countries, what I'm being told is that they get what we get in college. They get that in high school, and when
they get that in elementary school.
When they come here, I actually had a German girlfriend who told the professor, "Please give me real work, will you? You're wasting my time here."
Story number 3, John Boehner retained seat as Speaker of the House. We saw it coming, and of course, any dissent was punished. Story number 2,
I used to point out, Tea Party rebels were incompetent in the way they went about it.
Sure,
which is why Boehner's still there.
Yeah, absolutely. And story number 2, the elephants jab at Obama. McConnell they're expecting a veto on the Keystone vote, but that's exactly what you want. Make them own it. Story number 1, a week of terror in France. Go to politicalpistachio.com to read about that. We are down to a minute and a half. We got some final words from Doc Nye and you guys. Doc Nye, final words. What do you want to say to the listeners as we're on our way out?
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you so much, Doug and Alex, for allowing me on here today. And I'll tell you what, if you just go to Team Time Card or you want to donate straight to PayPal, it's bttf2.timecar@gmail.com. That's our PayPal. 100% of your money goes towards finding missing children.
And Jasmius, plug yourself.
blogtalkradio.com/HSR Network, the home of the Hard Starboard Radio Network podcast, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday, and I write at politicalpistachio.com.
Mr. Alex.
ConservativeCannonade.org, that's where the poetry is.
And I am Douglas V. Gibbs, Constitution Radio, here on KCAA, politicalpistachio.com. Write me at constitutionspeaker@yahoo.com. Visit me at douglasvgibbs.com. It's been a pleasure. Remember, united we stand, combined we kick butt. God bless America, and my friends, God bless you. We'll see you next Saturday.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 a.m. The station that leaves no listener behind.
This is your NBC Sports Radio update.
The divisional playoff round is underway.